I really like our plumbers at Howald Heating and Plumbing. They know their lines. They know water lines, drain lines, clog lines, pickup lines. Well, maybe in their younger days. When I was a kid, there was a game show on TV called What's My Line? Our plumbers would have been world champions. Along with Howald Heating and Plumbing having the best plumbers around, they're also very nice, clean, and pleasant guys to have in your home. So the next time you have trouble in the kitchen, laundry, or bathroom, throw us a line at Howald Plumbing and Heating. 255-HEAT, where you can trust your flush. To us.
Do you need air conditioning service and need to find a local well-trained expert you can trust like Kirby Heating and Air Conditioning? Find that American Standard Air dealer at IndyHomeComfort.com.
This is Indy Sports Center. WFNI, WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. This cat makes me make art. He's always motivating me to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. He's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Keyboard Cat, YouTube star and shelter pet. Amazing adoption stories start in shelters. Start yours today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Your one blood donation can help save the lives of up to 3 people. Give blood through the American Red Cross to help hospital patients. Visit redcrossblood.org today.
Soccer Saturday featuring Indy 11. If this is your football, this is your show. Saturday at 9 on The Fan.
What in the hell do you think you are doing?
Hey, John Boy.
I'm telling you straight, it's my way or the highway. So anybody wants to walk, do it now.
Hey, everybody, we're all gonna get late.
Kick is up, and it is long enough, and it is good. Adam Vinatieri, at age 45, drills one from 57 yards out.
Was kept alive by Oladipo, and Sabonis with a left hand.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV, FM 107.5 and 1070 The Fan.
Let's get started on a Wednesday, another suck day weather-wise. What are you going to do? I think it's just the suck just like twists over the top of us here. It's just going to stay. It's going to stay for a long period of time, but we're going to get through it because we're going to entertain for the next 3 hours, and you guys are going to be a part of it. Kyle is here. I'm John. Thank you very much for joining us. As most of us, I think, with our kids out there right now, winding down school and e-learning, that portion, and then we'll see where we go from here. I got to give a shout out to the great teachers, support staff, everybody from St. Francis and Clare. The school where my son has been going for the past 2 years, they did a parade out to our house, and believe me, it's out to our house, everybody. They did a parade today, and it was awesome. I mean, I was so touched by it. And that, once again, is what I describe here. And I cannot say enough on a daily basis how much teachers and educators, how much love I have for them and we should have for them daily, and how much love they have for those that they are teaching. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. And, again, all the love in the world going out to those that did that today. St. Francis and Clare, all the teachers over there, too, for the past 2 years have been great. For Blake and, of course, Laney's, Walnut Grove, Center Grove, they're great as well. But today it was Blake and his teachers. And I'm assuming that most of you out there that have kids in school probably have had your teachers, educators, support staff do the same thing. And it is awesome. I mean, it is a good feel. We don't have a lot of things to feel good about. It kind of seems like every time we get into the path of feeling good about something, some news story or something squashes it, right? So we don't have a lot to feel good stories about. That's one for me. That really touched me today, and I know that it did my son. That was awesome. Thank you guys for everything. And once again, thanks to all our educators for what you're doing, what you have done, what you continue to do, because it is a big deal. It is a big deal to everybody. I mean, it really is. certainly to our family and our kids. But that was really awesome today. Really was. So thank you, educators and teachers and all support staff out there at schools who are winding down what has been the most different school years in which we have ever seen. I do have a busy show for you today. Doug Bowles, Speedway Prez, coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. They got something going on, and we'll talk about that. As far as, recognizing, even though there's no race, recognizing even though that there is no Miller Lite Carb Day coming up on Friday, it is incredibly weird. I can't lie. I mean, that's part of the reason why. I mean, you go outside and you feel the temperature and you see the weather and it's just full of suck. It doesn't feel like that any race is approaching, and there's no race approaching. It feels like March. I'm sick of March. We're all sick of March. Well, we'll talk to Doug Bowles about a variety of things, what they're doing to recognize it. Obviously, trying to be as optimistic as possible that the race will be run, the Indy 500 coming up in August, but it has been a long time, and Doug Bowles is going to join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour, and we shall discuss that across the board. If you guys have any great ideas about how I should handle, I'm doing a carb day in here, which I don't know if that's just going to effectively mean I'm going to sit here and drink with you guys or what, but I've got to do something to celebrate and to honor it. It just will feel right. And if that's bringing Chris Hagan in here at 59 and doing what we normally do, just having a conversation, I mean, I don't know how we can recreate just some of the walk-by stuff and the shouting. It's great. But we got to do something, I think, in recognition of Miller Lite Carb Day on Friday. So if you have any ideas, if you simply are just saying, hey, why don't you guys just sit, have some beers, kick back, talk to us on front. Maybe that's the K. Maybe that's it. But we'll present some of those ideas to Speedway Preds Doug Bowles coming up at 4 o'clock, and we'll talk about a variety of things in which they are doing out there too, which is pretty awesome. I mean, they're always going through it, embracing the spirit of the month of May. Hashtag 500 at home, virtual and socially distanced activities planned the entire week. Mine's more focused in on Miller Lite Carb Day Friday, but just always trying to do something. So they got stuff set up for Friday. I think Friday is hashtag 500 at home will embrace the spirit of Miller Lite Carb Day by offering race fans a day full of classic rock and racing-related activities that fans can embrace while gearing up with their hashtag 500 fashion. Now, there are other radio stations involved in this. We should be right here. I mean, I'm every bit as music as any of these. And I actually do it live, and my ass isn't taped. So I'm every bit as music and celebration as I am sports right here, just like you guys are. So we'll talk about that. Alas, I don't see us mentioned right here. It's like music, voice track. Cool. But we'll talk about that with Doug. No, I'm not trying to be a jerk. Not trying to be a jerk. But we'll talk about that with Doug coming up at the 4 o'clock hour. And again, if you guys have any ideas, what the hell, toss them to me. Got a couple of days to figure all this out. And listen, that something will go down and something will be incredibly fun on Friday. So we'll do that. Just try to have that particular celebration in studio in honor of Miller Lite Carb Day, where, hell, I don't know. Normally we'd be geared up and ready to go, and I think we all understand where we are right now. Oh, wait a minute. Here's Saturday, right? Are you ready? Here it is. I like this. On Saturday, race fans can tune in to an exciting virtual history happy hour with Doug Bowles, IMS historian Donald Davidson, hosted in partnership with the Indiana Historical Society. Race fans also can make an at-home float for a virtual IPL 500 Festival Parade experience. And don't worry, race fans can get the race weekend music. Yeah, you guys are looking for it. I got to thank them for this. The hashtag JMV Takeover on 105.7. That's WYXB. And that's going to be me. And I'm going to be live. I will be live and taking your requests. And especially, I'll play some music, too, with Carb Day acts of the past. How about that? Now, that'll fit right in. So, a hashtag JMV Takeover. And they mentioned another country. Hell, that country station probably won't be live either. It's not the one in this building, though. I'm sure somebody will be live downstairs, but that one probably won't either. But I will be live, and you will be able to request stuff with me with the JMV Takeover on Saturday. So that's awesome right there. Thank you guys for that. And we'll have yet another blast on Saturday and be live, local, and late breaking for you. Yeah, I know. I thought about that too, Tyler. Maybe Kyle wouldn't do the obscenity thing, but we could probably get somebody to roll by the door and like drop a couple of F-bombs audibly so you guys can hear it. And then it could just like wreak havoc on Kyle trying to mess with the dump button, or I got the dump button right here too. So we can do that. I mean, hell, it happens all the time. Our doors are always wide open, and it's funny when we actually have people here, hopefully sometime again soon, when we have people here, they always have their like verbal meetings like right out in front here, like right here. I mean, you got 7 floors and everybody, and I miss it. This is not speaking against it. I miss it. I miss having people around, and they will congregate right here in front of the door and have all their conversations right there audibly so you guys can hear it while I'm talking, which is always good. So anyway, we'll figure that out. Speedway President Doug Bowl is going to join us coming up at the top of the 4 o'clock hour. Kevin Bowen's going to join us in the 5 for a variety of things. I mean, we're inching, I guess. Were they saying mid-July now? The hell with mid-July. Let's get this NBA thing going quicker than that. I mean, mid-July, I think something The Athletic could mention. And then Shams, whatever his name is, had mentioned they have hard targeted now Orlando for the games. Listen, I don't care where they play them. And maybe it won't be the same without fans. Maybe, I mean, listen, it won't be the same without fans. It won't be the same because they're playing on neutral sites. None of this is going to be the same except for the hoop. Just get out there and play. And that is what I'm hoping for. Now, we'll get to talk about this, and we'll start to feel good about it. And then ultimately what's going to happen is there'll be a story. They'll probably squash it. Like I tell you, last night I was going back and forth in a good way with folks on Twitter, and it is reasonable to suggest that every time you get one good story, there's going to be like 2 bad ones after it. Like, we'll see how this whole downtown and Broad Ripple thing goes. I'm kind of interested to see how it goes. I'm just interested because I want to see some of my friends back in business down here. So I'll walk it. I mean, it's going to happen right out front here on Illinois, so I'll walk it. They're doing it over on Mass Ave. They're doing it in Broad Ripple as well, and I hope that it helps because with local businesses, all we've had is bad news. And it's been bad news after bad news. And you know how much being from here, you know how much I love the local business, and you know how much I have friendships with most of those out there in these service industry businesses. And I hope this works. I hope this is a good ramp to get folks back on course. I know that there's a tremendous mountain to climb, and I'm not underselling that at all. I mean, the time that everybody has had to spend on the sideline has just been detrimental, like a year plus detrimental to most businesses out there. I understand that completely. Just, I'm there to support, though. I mean, anything whatsoever. And hopefully at some point the weather can cooperate, because I don't know how many people are going to be sitting outside enjoying food on a crap water day like today. What is it, like March 75th? But you get that, and then you hear about stuff that's not going to happen. And one of my all-time favorites, Strassenfest, Jasper, Indiana, not going to happen. I'm going to tell you, if you wanted to see a group, and I went to college with a bunch of folks from Jasper back in the day at Indiana State, and I thought I was ready-made to drink. And then, everybody, both the dudes and the chicks, arrive on, shoo! I'm sitting there drinking a beer, and they're pulling out these half-gallon jugs of Calvert Extra back in 1992, and I'm thinking, holy crap. They were ready. Strassenfest was a good time. And they have bagged that this year down in Jasper, which is a bummer. And we talked yesterday about Gen Con not happening. I guess the good news on the other side of it, Gen Con did longer term a deal here, but Gen Con will not happen this year. And I just feel for everybody around. Everybody, local business, everybody service industry, and especially those downtown, because it has absolutely smashed things, ruined things. So at some point, hopefully for everybody, those can get back on track and we hear more of the good stories, right? The good stories, and not just the negative stories about those, our friends, that will not reopen. Hopefully at some point that is the case. Kevin Bowen's going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. So, we'll talk about hopefully the return of the NBA sometime there maybe past July 4th, maybe mid-July now. I got my fingers crossed for Major League Baseball, too. Got a little NASCAR later on tonight. Darlington. You guys have asked me, because I did pinpoint where I thought the big numbers were going to be. And obviously, across the board, NASCAR's return, that was huge on Sunday. But make no mistake about it, those numbers will fall. It goes from Fox, it goes from the network Fox to Fox, FS1. It's a Wednesday night. It will not be the same. But again, look at it with the numbers still, but also compare it to we haven't heard anything bad come out of Sunday from Darlington. To me, that's a good thing. I don't know what you felt about the overall broadcast. I don't know if you're a race fan. I don't know if you really cared or not. I know some of you checked in just because it was sports again. It was live action, but maybe you don't care, and sure as hell, maybe you don't care enough longer term to hang on. But, to me, I kind of look at it like this. The more you can have this out there, I think the more solid footing you're going to get from these sports that maybe have more of a universal sports fan appeal around here, for those to get started. That's my hope with all this. And that's kind of how I looked at that and viewed that before anything else. I'm assuming, right? You guys kind of view this as empty stands, but you're having games? Or does anybody say empty stands, then why even have it? Anybody? I saw where Jim Harbaugh said in Michigan he's fine with football games in empty stadiums. At least you're having the games. I don't know. And you're talking about a place, historically speaking, that gets over 100,000 fans each and every college football fall afternoon. Everybody else on board with that? That has kind of been my thought the entire time. But, some kind of take it differently and say, hey, without fans, it's going to look weird. Maybe there will be. Upon return, maybe there's going to be a shelf life. Maybe we're going to see NASCAR be a microcosm. An explosion out of the gate, and man, it's great that it's back. And then, seeing a falling off and a lack of interest. Well, there's just so much that is different. I understand. It's just human nature. You just start wanting more. Certainly, if not wanting more, you just want the same. But we'll see. I've kind of sat here just said, hey, I want to see the NBA finish up. I want to see MLB try to do something. And I hope that NASCAR goes okay to the point to where everybody feels safe about moving forward again with those sports that have a much more broad appeal, especially here locally, than that of NASCAR. Get your thoughts on that at 239-1070. Email address JMV at 1070thefan.com. Frank Reich met with the media yesterday. We talked about that. A lot of things Frank Reich said, a lot of things we had talked about, Nyheim Hines being one. The value of Nyheim Hines compared to what we have seen from him in the past. And then how offensively they plan to utilize him is going to be good. Frank Reich, I think, was on Dan Patrick's show earlier today and was just, basically, it was basic Frank Reich 101. It was, hey, I'm really excited. I'm really happy. I can't wait to get with these guys. I'm really juiced up thinking about Michael Pittman Jr. and Jonathan Taylor. I mean, it is your garden variety Frank Reich. But he has a quarterback that they feel that they can work with more than what they had a year ago. So hopefully they're going to be off and running with that. So Kevin Bowen, we'll talk about a variety of things with Kevin, also things we brought up yesterday coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. And at 4:30 today, this may just interest me. Now, the response I've received via social media would tell me that it does relate more to folks than just me. But maybe, I don't know. And I talk about it all the time, and this is a true story. I mean, I watch things that entertain. You don't necessarily have to hand a film an Oscar in March for me to love that film. I like films. To me, funny, entertaining, fighting, a little bit of nudity, you know what I mean? I mean, just something that entertains me. And I realize what entertains me likely does not entertain some of you out there when it comes to film, and I respect that. But over the years, I have gathered that a lot of you, much like me, hold Roadhouse in a cult respect, favorable nod. You enjoy it as much as I do. And we talk about it all the time, make light of it, joke about it. But certainly have fun with it. I mean, the son of a gun is on every single night. You can watch it at any time. It's like an episode of The Big Bang Theory. Like at any point in time, I think on television, no matter what your carrier is, you can probably catch The Big Bang Theory like 19 different times. I've not seen an episode of that. How about it? I've never seen an episode of The Big Bang Theory. And not because, I just don't know why. I just haven't. Like, I didn't see 2.5 Men on its original run. I have come to really enjoy 2.5 Men via syndication, whether it's on IFC or TV Land. Now, I don't watch the What's His Nuts guy. I watch the Charlie Sheen ones.
Ashton Kutcher.
I can't do Ashton Kutcher. I can't do that. It's just Charlie Sheen sets a standard because Charlie Sheen in that role, Charlie Sheen's playing himself in that role. He can't play the piano, but Charlie Sheen is playing himself in that role. So I have to turn it off if the Ashton Kutcher stuff comes on. But I got that in like second run. I think a lot of you are the same, especially those that are younger. Got the Roadhouse cult following on second run. And it celebrated 31 years of release. And certainly Patrick Swayze is gone, no longer with us. Ben Gazzara, Brad Wesley, no longer with us. So some of the major actors are no longer with us. Sam Elliott's still around, doing a great job. But I came across, and I just kind of was jacking around a little bit in social media and reached out to him. Marshall Teague played Jimmy. And if you want to know who Jimmy is, Jimmy was the chief ass whipper for Brad Wesley. At the end of the film, and I'm sorry if you haven't, you should have seen it by now, so if I'm spoiling something for you, then so be it. Patrick Swayze ended Jimmy, Brad Wesley's chief ass whipper, by ripping his throat out. That was like the signature move. You know, like, how should I put this? Wrestling terms, the signature move for a wrestler, the Iron Sheik was the camel clutch, right? Patrick Swayze's finishing move in Roadhouse was grabbing somebody by the throat and ripping it out. That was his finishing move. And that's what he did to Jimmy. But Jimmy is also an actor. Jimmy is Marshall Teague is the actor's name, and he's going to join me coming up at 4:30 today. And he's excited about it. I'm excited about it. He looked like, I think he was in general kind of a badass dude before he got that role. And then I have to ask him this. I don't know if this is true or not. And Kyle, you may have to look this up. I saw online, and we all know that everything online is normally true. I saw online where Marshall Teague, the actor, holds the record for his role that he is playing being killed. So the role in which he has been playing, I guess normally whatever role he has, that role is killed on a show, whether it's a television show or a movie. I didn't just dream that, did I? I think that's an awesome stat, by the way.
That's an awesome stat, but that's going to have to be someone you'd think that does a ton of different roles.
But he does. I mean, he's one off. I mean, he's guest star role. I mean,
look it up.
Look across the board. He's guest starred on everything. I'm assuming to have as many as they suggest in his lifetime as an actor, that you pretty much have to die in every role you ever played. I'm assuming he died in almost every role that he ever played. I know that I just didn't dream that up because that's too damn good to dream up right there.
Did they give you a number at all? Did you see that?
I thought, how many roles has he had in film, in television and film? I'll just have to ask him.
From my quick Googling, it looks like number 1 is Danny Trejo, 65 on-screen deaths.
Yeah, I think his was over 100. Now, is that big screen or is that television deaths too? Because I think this factored in TV. We'll ask him.
Oh, this is just films.
Yeah, I think his is film and TV. So I'm assuming if he's had that many, he's died in pretty much every role he's ever played. Which I think is awesome. I do, man. You got to be known for something. But I can't wait. Marshall Teague, who played Badass Jimmy in Roadhouse, is going to join me coming up at 4:30, and I cannot wait for it. Cannot wait. We got that and more at 239-1070. Email address, jv@1070thefan.com. Darius Butler from yesterday, if you missed that podcast, he's one of our new go-to dudes right there. The former Colts defensive back always brings it. Always good stuff. And he was great yesterday. That podcast is up. 1075thefan.com. Anybody, does it matter? Sports returning without fans matter to you? Maybe even better said, does it matter to you until the football season? Would the football season say, you know what, there's no way I can do this without fans? Anybody? Does it matters to everybody, but considering the situation that we're in, does it matter to you? Because right now it doesn't matter to me. I just kind of want to see the sport. But you saw it in NASCAR, and it's just different. It's a big racetrack, and it'll be just different compared to NBA guys playing in a much smaller gym than normal. Hell, in a playoff situation. But does it matter to you? All right, that and Carb Day Friday ideas. Doug Bowles, Marshall Teague, Kevin Bowen, busy Wednesday. 239-1070 is the number. YouTube Live, hello to you guys that were rocking on there right now, too. And you got the email address. We'll jump back at you. Other side next.
Yeah, things are different this May around the Brickyard. But if you listen carefully, you can still hear the echoes of champions cascading through the ages. And in Indy, May always means racing. This Friday, start race weekend with back-to-back 560 featuring the 1968 and 1999 races. Then on Sunday, we start at 10 a.m. with the 2016 race and finish with last year's race. Race Day weekend on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hubler Chevrolet is open. Shop from the convenience of your home. Chevy cares and is offering 0% financing for 84 months on new Chevys. Learn more at drivehubler.com.
This corona culture we're living in is just another example of how life can throw some unexpected challenges at you. This is Dan Dockich. When you're faced with difficult times, it's always comforting to have a professional on your side who actually cares about you as a person. If you or someone you know experienced an accident as a driver, passenger, rider, or pedestrian, keep in mind what my guy Randy Sevenish and Sevenish Law recommends during these challenging financial times. Do not try to negotiate with the insurance company yourself, thinking you are saving money, and be wary of discount lawyers. A quick payday may not be best for you. Do not leave money on the table. It's your money. Even though some courts are closed right now, Randy is still here for you. He's able to meet with you and still take the next negotiation steps for resolution. Do not hesitate to take on the insurance giants during these tough times. Call Sevenish Law, the fierce protectors of the injured, where you're treated like a person, not just a case number. 317-636-7777 and SevenishLaw.com.
Indiana 811. Yes, you should contact 811 before digging, no matter how big or small the project. So, you want to put up a fence, plant a tree, and put in a new mailbox. We'll have someone sent to locate utilities for free within 2 working days.
Avoid damages or injury. Call 811 or visit 811now.com before you dig.
Sponsored by the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission, this station, and the Indiana Broadcasters Association.
Hey, it's JMV for the Ride with JMV and the JMV Takeover. Our friends at Count Me Indy asked me to remind everybody that it's not too late to respond to the 2020 census. It takes about 10 minutes to respond at 2020census.gov, and responding helps Indy get federal funds for education, like school lunches and grants supporting teachers and students. Help me say thank you, teachers. Complete the 2020 census and send me your song request at JMV 1070. Paid for by Count Me Indy.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Zach Kiefer.
I think this year is everything for T.Y. because I don't think it's a slam dunk he's back in Indianapolis in 2021. The question is, can he put together a full season and not be hampered by injury? That's really going to decide his future in Indianapolis. If he fights through another injury-plagued season this year, it's going to be hard for the Colts to pony up.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe. Weekday mornings, 7 till 10. Only on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
You take drugs, Danny? Every day. Good. So what's the problem? I don't know.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Doug Bowles, top of the hour. Kevin Bowen, 5 o'clock hour. Marshall Teague, the actor. 4:30, Kyle with an update on Marshall Teague that we were talking about before the break.
Found it on his IMDb page. He's had 103 on-screen deaths throughout his career. 103 different ways to die.
And he's only been in a little over 130 films and television shows. So he has died in 103 of those.
That's got to be the record for percentage of, appearances on shows and how many times you die.
Bill Bowman says he died in Armageddon. I'm going to tell you what, if you're going to be known for something, by God, be known for something. That is spectacular.
You think it's a skill he's acquired, how to make it realistic to look like you're actually dying?
I think it's much like William Zabka. You were so good at your role of being a butthole. I mean, you just were the villain. Zabka was just so good at the role of being the bully. Just a douchey bully. And he's apparently good at being a villain, and he's died in 103 television and or films. JMV, you got to get him. You got to get him to say, "Your ass is mine, boy." Oh, man. Some days are better than others, and this is a damn good day right here. Darren writes this: I think you could get by with no fans in professional sports, but a big part of college football are the fans and the atmosphere. I would tend to agree. I think that, honestly, Darren, I think you can get by with no fans now in the near future. with basketball and with baseball, but I just think that people will probably grow tired of seeing it. It's my expectation. And then your expectation is you got to have fans in football. And you mentioned college football as a part of the experience. I'm talking about the NFL too. I mean, you get all the dudes rolling down to the Colts game that's in their gear. You know, the super fans. I think it will last for a while, but I think there's a shelf life to it, and I think that shelf life will come to an end when football season is supposed to be here. Am I wrong about that? Thank you, Darren. Good to hear from you. JMV, on the no fans topic, I know you're not a big UFC guy, but the fans really drive the energy in those events, but they've been really good without the fans. Found a new few things that were missing that are really entertaining. I think we'd find the same with football. Roadhouse. I'm telling you right now, we're in a different spot, though, because everybody is just going to embrace anything being back. It's like the mammoth numbers NASCAR got on Sunday. Those weren't all NASCAR fans. Those were people just going, oh, my God, there's some live-action sports back again. I'm going to turn it on. And I think that has, again, a shelf life before it goes stale. I mean, and again, you also have to keep in mind, this is going to be a step-by-step process, much like the life in which we're all leading right now. And what I mean by that is, you know, we're doing things after we shut everything down. We're starting to grow again, and you know, you're passing tests. You know, being allowed to do this 1 week after you weren't allowed to do it, and then something different the next, something different the next. You know, the various stages that we're going through right now, that will, I would assume, relate to sports too. And then the other thing you have to think about is, you know, when and if that sport comes back with fans. And again, I'm assuming NASCAR is going to be the first one. And we kind of knocked around the idea that NASCAR at some point in June in the state of Florida at Homestead may have some fans there. We were knocking around that idea with Vince Welch last week, if you remember, when he was on the show. But yeah, the liability of the host venues, teams, what have you, leagues, where is that going to be moving forward? Just a thought. Again, I think we're all juiced about hopefully getting live action sports back soon, and it'll be a different stage. You'll say, well, you know, it's back, but you'll want the fans back, and you will expect the fans back in football. And Jim Harbaugh can say what he wants about being okay playing in the big house without fans, but how weird would that look? Like a practice. But we'll see. I'll lean on you for thoughts. Lean on those that are on YouTube Live right now. That'd be great. Toby Northern, JMV, here's some trivia. According to Kelly Lynch, whenever Bill Murray sees her sex scene with Swayze on TV, he calls her husband, Mitch Glazer, to tease him about it. That, I believe, is true. And that is true. I hope it's true, because if it's not true, I'll be bummed out because it's a hell of a story. I always get bummed out when great stories turn out to be untrue. So, Bobby, a Sunday home game with bullseye tailgating shenanigans would break my heart. I got to get back for my guys at Bullseye. I miss being out. I talk about this every day. I so miss being out. JMV, the situation wherein I don't think it matters whether or not fans are in the stands. We just want to see them play no matter what the sport. And Ken Dog, I agree with you. I think that's where we sit right now. But especially when football gets here, you're going to have a different set of expectations. I will guarantee it. I think we're all accepting of that right now. I know I am. 239-1070. Mark is on board here today. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Oh, just fine, JMV.
Yes, sir.
No, I just had a little thought about the broadcast on race day. someone ought to be really helped with that broadcast. And I was thinking, and you'd have the pull to probably pull it off, if you could broadcast from the start-finish line at the 500 and let the 500 charge maybe $10 a pop to drive around the track. No one's getting close to each other. Well, hell, 1,000 cars drive around that thing. They could be screaming and yelling at you. Get $10,000.
So you're talking about that on Sunday. That's what you're talking about, Sunday?
Yeah, race day, and you could bring your car out there, drive around the track, $10, and yell at you all you want, and the money then could go to like Gleaners or some kind of food bank. And my God, 1,000 cars is $10,000.
Mark, thank you for the idea. Appreciate it. What's funny about that is Tony Katz and I were going back and forth on Twitter earlier this week because when we do these 500 pre-shows, it's Tony and I that co-host them. Well, we do that together. And it is fun. I always liked it because he is completely on one side, I'm completely on the other. And I'm not talking about the broadcast table. I'm just talking about everything. We are, I'm pretty sure, unanimously different in every single facet of life. But I like him, and we get along really well. And see, I don't really look at folks as, hey, you know what? I wonder who they voted for. I look at folks at how they treat me. If you treat me like a jackass, I'm never going to like you. And I'm sure as hell not going to go back to you. I'm not built that way. Well, what if they said I'm sorry? You know, there's like a shelf life on that too. People can just piss off after a while. In my opinion, it's always been that way. But that all stuff never matters. So I think it's our differences that really help the broadcast sound good. I was always really proud of doing that. And Tony and I were going back and forth earlier this week about what we could do, and that idea was knocked around. Now, I know we're going to have a race coming up on Sunday. And that's a good thing. And I know we're going to have 560s coming up as well. But yeah, we're not going to do it live as we normally would. We'll save that for August, and then we'll do that again. John Dissauer says this. You guys want some bad news regarding the weather? Has only made it up to 58 today in Indy. The normal high temp, March 30th through April the 1st, is 58. See? I'm telling you, we've had 70-plus days of March for the most part. I mean, I remember more days like this since mid-March than I remember nice days. It's the coldest high temp for the date in 5 years. The 11th coldest since 1871. However, Dissauer says this, a 25-degree plus swing coming for the weekend. Hashtag stay tuned. Thank you, John. I will say this. If you have a swimming pool that has a heater, you're cool with it. If you have a swimming pool that relies on either a solar blanket or just the sunshine coming out, you are probably going to be incredibly cold. No doubt. Hey, JMV, I hit a new low, marble racing on YouTube. But the commentating is so good. I think I saw marble racing when all this started back then, if I remember correctly. Marble racing. JMV, from the last caller, didn't you used to be able to drive your personal car around? I think at times they open it up so you can drive around. He was talking about on Sunday to recreate. Hey, man, any idea is a good idea. Only those that don't have an idea is a bad idea. I know that sounded really lame. Englepuke writes this. Long time. I haven't actually. Mark sent me today. Sent me a message via Facebook. It's 6 years to the day. 6 years. Might be more than that. Might have been 8 years. 8 years to the day that you bought me a drink. It was some frou-frou num-num drink downtown before a Pacer game. Shout out to Mark. I'm sure Mark this weekend was watching Nelly versus Ludacris because Mark is a huge Nelly fan. Huge. Gene, before the break at 239-1070. Hello, Gene. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
Great, Gene. What's up?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, Gene. Go ahead.
Hello.
Hello, Gene. I'm right here.
All right, man. Good to hear you.
Yeah, Gene. Go ahead.
Hey, I was just going to give you some perspective, not that you need it, but I'm a 20-plus year season ticket holder for the Colts.
Yeah.
Started tailgating when I first got here in 1996. We bought a stack of those $2 grills from Myers and threw them away after every tailgate. But having worked in sports for the last 20 years, my concern is, and I hope it's not the case, is just the apprehension that I see, especially when you go on social media. There seems to be this 50-50 divide on, do I go to crowded places? Do I engage with even my friends? And, when we pack them into, the end zone lot for the Blue Crew, when we pack them in through the gates, when we pack them into the stadiums, I'm concerned that there's going to be a pretty long lag of, fans that are willing to show up and participate.
No, I completely agree with you because you're going to have that. You are going to have those that are apprehensive. I can tell you this, and Gene, thank you for the call. It's just maybe because I'm, some sort of idiot, lummox, numbskull, just doesn't know, doesn't think. I don't have that particular worry. And I probably should. I'll probably be eating words one of these days because it wouldn't be the first time I've ever eaten words. I don't have that particular worry because Gene's right. At some point, even when folks are allowed to go back, that doesn't automatically mean that everybody is automatically going to go back. It just doesn't. So I agree. Now, people have asked me before, are you concerned? Are you worried? I'm more concerned about those that have more of a compromising condition. Like, I worry about my mom. Like, that's my thing. My mom lives alone. I got to make sure everything's going okay. Need supplies sometimes, right? So I worry about her, and I worry about, catching something from me. Or what if I brought it there? That's the stuff. I don't worry so much about me getting it. I just worry about others. So that's kind of where I am right now. Again, we will feel, I'm sure, differently come football season than we do right now. I think right now somebody's just waiting for something to come back, and you don't really care how much it comes back, when it comes back, if it's in front of anybody or not. You just want to see it back. And that's understandable. Joan in Arizona writes this on YouTube Live. Are you a lefty, JMV? I see you holding a pen in your left hand all the time. You know what's funny? I am not a left-hander. My strong hand dribbling has always been my left hand. I've always wanted to be a left-hander, and I've tried to in the past. I've tried to build my left hand. I try to use it a lot because I was always jealous of left-handers. I was always jealous for left-handed hitters. I was always jealous for left-handed throwers. Like when I throw a football, I much rather would throw it with my left hand than my right hand. I get a better spiral from it with my left hand than my right hand. So I've always been jealous, and I've always just tried to work for whatever reason. It doesn't mean anything now. I'm 50. But, you're right. I find myself holding a pen in my left hand, doing other things with my left hand, but my right hand is dominant. I've just always been very jealous of left-handers because there's nothing in the world more beautiful than a left-handed swing. I'm sorry, but right-handed swings looks like a damn rusty-ass gate. Left-handed swings are majestic. Just majestic. Right-handed swings, right-handed swings, you could, I'll have to ask Tucker this one of these days. You could be a great right-handed hitter. Let me give you a great right-handed hitter, some of you. Like Edgar Martinez. Edgar Martinez, of the Mariners, a great right-handed hitter. There was nothing at all majestic about his swing. I mean, sometimes right-handed hitters, it's almost like you watch them hit and they do it professionally, and it looks like it's the first time they ever picked up a damn bat.
Can you name, everyone says Ken Griffey Jr. has got the best swing of all time. He's a lefty.
That's right there.
Who's the best righty swing that you've seen? I've got one in mind, but it's a little more recent than what you probably do.
People probably wouldn't connect with Edgar Martinez, but he's one of the greatest hitters we have ever seen, and he was a right-handed hitter not a lot of people would think of.
I always thought Manny Ramirez had a sweet-looking swing.
Yeah.
It looked pretty smooth.
Probably right. Yeah, as a right-handed hitter, he's probably at the top of the list. I'd agree with you on that. But I've always wanted to be a left-hander, always. Everything. And I do I play toward my left all the time just because I did that long ago. And you can see what it's done for me. Absolutely big, fat donut hole 0. But I've tried. I know, it's weird. Quick break, and we'll come back. Your phone calls, Doug Bowles, Speedway Press, top of the hour. Marshall Teague, who played Jimmy in Roadhouse, is going to join us at 4:30. He holds the honor, at least from what we've read online, of the most deaths in roles, either TV or film, both together, in the history of actors. He has died 103 times of his 130-plus television and film roles. 103 times. That's a record. Marshall Teague, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. Bowen's in the 5. Back with you next.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Kevin Bowen.
Everybody gets a mandated Thursday night game. I totally throw that game out the window. It's just incredible to me that I think the Colts have had a 5-year punishment for the fake punt against the New England Patriots because that was the last time they had a home primetime game, which some might argue that was a deserved punishment.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe. Weekday mornings 7 till 10. Only on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's John for Love, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Hey, it's not going to be 59 for the rest of the summer. It's just not. Rest of the spring and summer, the temperatures are going to rise. Therefore, you're going to lean heavily on your cooling unit. And is it ready? Is it ready for you to lean on it right now? Love Heating and Air Conditioning can help. They can check it out and make sure it's good to go because, frankly, if it's not, it's going to cost you a lot of money, which you don't want, and it's going to leave you hot, and you certainly don't want that. The worst thing in the world is going and turning on your cooling unit and it being hot. Nobody likes that. But John and Chris Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Their business has been around for 100 years. They are the best around at making sure you are cool and comfortable in the summertime. Plus, right now, understanding where we are, following CDC recommended guidelines, so have zero hesitation about inviting their employees into your home to check something out or to upgrade in your cooling unit because they will have you covered top to bottom in safety, therefore giving you that peace of mind. The best at dealing with your cooling unit and the best in dealing with the safety and the health of your family. It's Love Heating and Air Conditioning. 317-353-2141. 317-353-2141 online. love-hvac.com today.
Kids, tell your parents about Forum Credit Union's Sprout of the Month contest where you could win $100 in a Sprout account for college. Details at 1075thefan.com.
Have you added up the total amount of credit card debt you owe? Don't be afraid to find out, because it can all go away with a phone call to Golden Oak Lending.
Imagine the feeling of freedom when you owe nothing on credit cards. It can happen. This is James Hawkins at Golden Oak Lending. The equity in your home has risen and rates have fallen. That means you can get money to pay off those credit cards.
Call us for a free mortgage checkup today. Our average cash-out customer saves $904 a month. Plus, you'll make no payments for 2 months.
No time to call? Apply online 24/7 at goldenoaklending.com with our secure Zipline mortgage.
Apply from the comfort and safety of your home or call 317-706-GOLD. That's 706-GOLD.
If we can't close your loan, the appraisal is no charge.
Golden Oak Lending cured my blues.
NMLS 114937, regulated by the Indiana Department of Financial Institutions.
Hey, it's John here for Forum Credit Union. Kevin and the gang, and too often people fail in this case, fall flat or fail with budgeting because making one or more mistakes that they can easily avoid. So now more than ever, following that realistic budget is key to keeping your financial health strong. Believe me, I need this financial resource more than any of you guys out there. I think we're all in this together, right? Things like guessing monthly expenses, thinking that all months are the same, not tracking all of your spending. Those are all potholes that I, every month, fall into. So, yes, I need those resources, those tools, that help that Kevin and the gang from Forum Credit Union will provide in their financial readiness page. Helping you budget, steer clear of those budget mistakes, avoid the excess. They have tools and resources for you easily found online. forumcu.com today.
Where the salons can't open yet. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis with your coronavirus update. Signs demanding Marion County salons and barbershops be opened were carried by people in front of the State House Wednesday afternoon, like Donna.
We're a mile away from Hendricks County, and all those salons are open, but yet we're closed.
She says she wants to earn a living. Mayor Joe Hogsett says it's not safe enough yet in Marion County. Indiana enters Phase 3 of the reopening plan Friday morning. Governor Eric Holcomb explains that means you can gather in a group of up to 100 people with proper distancing.
Restaurant and dining rooms will remain open at 50% capacity, but retail stores and malls, they will be able to operate at 75%.
Campgrounds and gyms can reopen, and practices for non-contact sports can start. That's everywhere but Marion, Lake, and Cass counties. You've got another update coming up from the WIBC Newsroom. I'm Chris Davis.
Hey, join me tomorrow. We're going to talk some Colts with the great Mike Wells. I don't know if we'll talk about fighting Mike Tyson. I don't think we should. We don't want to fight Tyson. We want to talk Colts tomorrow.
The Ride with JMV.
Smokey, this is not Nam. This is bowling. There are rules.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Doug Bowles, top of the hour. Speedway Prez, Marshall Teague, actor, has died 103 times in his acting career. That's a Hollywood record. He played ass kicker Jimmy in Roadhouse. Joins us bottom of the hour. Kevin Bowen in the 5 o'clock hour. Carl's in at 239-1070 next. Go ahead, Carl.
Hey, JMV, great show, man.
Thank you, Carl.
Hey, man, I was calling about the Roadhouse thing.
Yeah.
I met the bartender that was in that show.
Which one?
The one with the mustache, the one whose uncle was the...
Yeah, the one that got fired. Yeah, he is a musician, right? He was also the hell was he in? Well, why can't I think of it right now? He was in the Jerry Lee Lewis biopic, I think, is what he was in. Yeah, Great Balls of Fire, yes.
He was in a couple of... Yeah, he was. But anyway, his name's John Doe. Real nice guy.
Right.
And he was in a punk band out of L.A. called X.
Yeah, I knew that. I knew he was a big-time musician that people know certainly out west. No doubt.
Yeah. I met him in Houston, man. Real nice guy. But anyway, I have a question.
Sure.
Did you call a state final game this year?
I did not.
Okay. I was just curious because I thought I drive a truck, and I was riding through, and it's like, I wondered, it sounded like you, but I didn't know. So.
If it was a state final game, football state final?
No, it was basketball. I think it was the girls.
Girls? Was Rakestraw doing the girls? I can't remember who was doing the girls, but it was not me, though. It wasn't me.
Okay. I was just checking, man, because whoever called it was a good call, but it was like, I couldn't tell because it kept fading in and out. I drove 69.
Carl, that's John Doe from Roadhouse. He's the one that got fired and then came back, and he was Brad Wesley's nephew in that film. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Carl, thank you. Anyway, you call anytime. I need those good facts.
All right, brother.
Thank you. Yep. The good facts like Marshall Teague and Chuck Norris being tight. I need that. Lee wants to go IU transfer. We'll do that coming up on the other side, too. They got a transfer in from South Alabama at the tight end position. Turnbuckle Bill is on hold as well. Doug Bowles, other side, Marshall Teague coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. The actor that played Jimmy from Roadhouse, and Kevin Bowen in the 5 o'clock hour. Back with you next.
There might be 100,000 businesses in America that don't come back.
What we're going through right now.
We don't sit around. We don't take well to people telling us what to do and whatever else.
Most of us are in the same boat right now.
Wouldn't it be great if regular people started speaking out?
If you're talking about it,
We let little blogger boy.
we're talking about it.
They hate it when you talk real because it goes against their narratives.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, John here for Indiana's best. Andy Moore, Toyota in Avon, 5 miles west of 465 on US 36. Open and CDC compliant right now for your best car buying experience and your health and safety out in Avon. They are open right now. And then also this, if you don't want to mess with going out, log on AndyMooreToyota.com, and Ben Mendoza is still going to give you a fantastic deal with the vehicle that you find online. They have 4+ acres of nothing but fantastic rides. You can find the one of your choice. You can look it up and down and upside down, find everything about it, then let Ben and his staff go to work for you. If you want to do it contactless, it's very easy. Online, AndyMooreToyota.com today. But they are open, CDC compliant for your health, your safety, and the absolute best car buying experience anywhere. It's Andy Moore Toyota in Avon, 5 miles west of 465 on US 36.
With more than 1,000 people evacuated from the building while it undergoes black mold removal and
Turn that off.
$15 million in repairs. Officials
Turn it off. Yeah. Yeah, I saw it. Well, you hired the contractor. You tell me what happened. So you're saying we cut corners?
Imagine if students on your campus were left out in the cold because somewhere someone cut corners. Building owners and customers are often kept in the dark about the risks of poorly installed mechanical insulation. The Heat and Frost Insulators Local 18 Code of Workmanship doesn't allow anything below specification. The Insulation Contractors Association of Indianapolis ensures your job is done right. Every project, every time. Learn more at insulators18.org. The Brothers and Sisters of Energy Efficiency, insulating you from escalating costs.
We are Local 18.
John here for WeGrowHairIndy.com. Darren Andrews, if you're losing your hair, you want to do something about it. Man, life is about having options. The more the merrier, right? So if there are options for you to get your real growing hair again, then talk to Darren Andrews about that at WeGrowHairIndy.com. And, of course, they still always practice the safest. But going on right now with COVID-19, they are making sure that you are comfortable. They are testing. They are following CDC recommended guidelines. Make no mistake, they're the absolute best for a variety of reasons. And first things first, it's your health. So now if you want your real growing hair again, you have options. PAI. Tell Darren that I sent you. WeGrowHairIndy.com today.
This is Indy Sports Center. WFNI, WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis. Go trackside with Kurt Cavan and Kevin Lee. Tuesday night at 7 on The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
1, is this or is this not the XFL? Yes, it is. 2, do I or do I not currently have a pulse? Yes, I do. Let's play football.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
They say you got a boyfriend. You're out late every weekend. They're talking about you and it's bringing me down.
Hey, welcome back. What might have been Miller Lite Card Days on Friday. We're still going to find a way to celebrate. This is one of the two bands that would have been playing, on the Carb Day this Friday. Styx was the other. This is REO Speedwagon back with you, hour number 2. Marshall Teague, the actor, bottom of the hour. Kevin Bowen, the writer, the sports talk show co-host, and the podcaster from 107.5 The Fan joins us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The Speedway president, our friend Doug Bowles. It makes me incredibly sad to play you in with REO Speedwagon right there, given the circumstances. It does.
It makes me sad, too, but the only hope that I've had the last week
was that I thought you were still going to help us celebrate Miller Lite Carb Day on Friday anyway. I haven't figured out exactly how that was going to be, but I know I'm tuning in, and actually I may show up at your doorstep with a
Holy crap!
A Miller Lite or two that we could just enjoy. And
why don't we do that?
Play some sticks and REO and
yeah.
just pretend we were sitting out at the racetrack.
Well, you know what? I think that's a hell of an idea. Why don't you come by here on Friday, and we will do that, because we can also take calls, which, normally we get lob questions from fans when we're sitting out in Pagoda Plaza, so it would be as close to normal as we can possibly get in this incredibly unusual time.
Well, you can count on it. I will be there.
Yeah,
you just tell me what time.
Yeah, we'll get a time. We'll go back and forth here, get a time for it. You can come in on Friday, and we'll try to serve the honor that is necessary of Miller Lite Carb Day coming up on Friday. We'll get into a lot of the things you guys are doing in virtual fashion in just a minute. But how are things going out there for you?
Oh, generally they're going as well as could be expected. I mean, the great news is that Roger Penske is really excited about being part of Indianapolis as more than just a car owner. He's really excited about some of the improvements that he's got the team working on to get ready to host customers and fans when we can finally open the gates. So, I mean, if you stay focused on some of the positive stuff, it's really easy to feel pretty good about it. Certainly, this weekend is going to feel really strange, not getting ready for cars at the Speedway and not being able to see all the smiling faces that come through the gates.
Yeah, it has been incredible, and I would agree with you. I mean, Roger doing a great job on trying to navigate this when there's no map. I mean, there is no previous path to this. I mean, you got to go and got to rely on a great deal of insight, and you guys all from top to bottom have been great at doing that to this point, no doubt.
Well, we're working pretty hard, and obviously, getting to work alongside Mark Miles and Allison Melanchthon, who are two people that love this community more than just about anybody, and wanting to do it the right way and make sure everybody's safe, but also understanding, how important, especially the Indianapolis 500 is, but even the Big Machine Vodka 400, and trying to make sure that we find a way to execute those events because they mean a lot to this community, and they certainly mean a lot to the fans who come through and make it an annual pilgrimage to the track every year. So it's a neat team, and Roger's a pretty amazing addition to that group.
Last time we talked, I think was it was the decision, I think, that was made to move it back to August. Is there anything that's transpired to this point that may have changed or taken a different direction? Anything at all since the last time we had a conversation, Doug?
No, I think the good news is we didn't move it to June, right, or something
yeah,
where
right.
we were in a situation where we were already thinking about having to move it.
Was that on the table? Was that firmly on the table initially in conversations?
No, but when we started looking at the dates, I mean, we had some openings in June, but I think from the very beginning, when we decided it was really time to postpone it, we wanted to postpone it to a period of time where we thought we had a good likelihood of getting the race in, and I think I told you back then is we wanted to land it somewhere where we could get as much of the things that fans expect around May in as well. So like a Fast Friday and 2 days of qualifying and all the things that really takes 2 weekends at least to make happen. So I think we landed on the right date. And, so far, if we can just sort of stay in step with the governor's phases and getting to a point where, both of our races right now would be inside phase 5. So that makes it, it makes it easier in some ways and harder in some ways. It's easier in the sense that we feel good that we might get to host spectators, but it makes it hard in a lot of ways because you got to plan on a whole bunch of different scenarios. So it's been an interesting time at the Speedway for sure.
We were just talking about this, and Speedway Press Doug Bowles on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I brought this up a little bit earlier. I mean, right now I'm in a position much like most other people listening right now where, if something returns, you're going to watch it. Without fans, it really doesn't matter. At some point, it is just going to matter. I mean, just both for everybody who's enjoying it, financial matters, those are all going to take place. Do you think there's ever going to be any thought? Would you guys run that race, you think, without fans in the stands?
Honestly, we haven't gotten to that conversation yet. I mean, our hope is and our focus is having an Indy 500 with fans. I mean, that's what makes the 500 special. Sure, it's the drivers, it's the 500 miles, but really what's made it last to the point that we get to celebrate the 104th running is its fans. And so we are doing everything we can to make sure that we're thinking through every scenario we can to make sure it works that way. But again, we'll see what happens over the course of the next month and a half or so as we kind of learn more every day about what COVID's doing and which direction it's going. I
was going to ask you that too. I mean, do you stay in consistent contact with the governor's office, about these stages and how that will affect you, hell in the now, but then moving forward as we get deeper into the summertime?
So we do. Mark has really been leading that for us. Mark Miles has been leading that communication side of things for us. I talk to folks in the governor's office on a regular basis, but Mark's been leading that piece for us. And as we start thinking about what the 500 looks like and the 400 looks like, we're trying to share those thoughts and ideas with state and local officials. And I think really what we want them to know is that we're being thoughtful about it, and we are thinking through scenarios and making sure that that we can, if we get to a point where we can host our fans, which is what we hope we can do, that we're doing it in a way that the state and the local folks can stand up and say we're pretty darn proud of the way that the Speedway's thought this through.
Doug Bowles joins us. Can you let us in just a little bit on how many different scenarios you guys might have talked over? And certainly right now, I mean, the hard target is August, and that's what you want, and you hope that it all works out. But can you let us in on how many different scenarios conversationally from Roger to you to Mark to whomever have had about how this summer is going to go and how you're going to fit everything in and how you're going to get a sense of normalcy with the race in general?
So our focus really, and even still today, is on the scenarios around the Big Machine Vodka 400 and the doubleheader the day before with the IndyCar and the Xfinity Series cars on the road course. I mean, that's the first thing on the calendar. I'm super excited about the potential of Xfinity and IndyCar and the NTT IndyCar Series on the same day on the road course, and then converting the track that night and getting ready to go racing for Cup on the oval and the Big Machine Vodka 400. So that's really our focus right now, and the scenarios that we're working through relate to that. And I think as we get closer to that and understanding how that weekend works is when we can really start narrowing down any scenarios we need to play for the 500. So. Almost all of our efforts right now are, like everyone else, figuring out what that's going to look like and how we can get back on track, as the governor has said. And we certainly want to get back on track, but do it in a safe and responsible manner.
Doug Bowles joins us. What do you think about NASCAR's return on Sunday and running without fans at Darlington?
Well, for us, I'm sure for a lot of people in sports, and I know for Jay Fry and the team over at the IndyCar Series, it was an interesting one to watch. And even though they didn't have fans, you can learn a lot from it. The operationally how they worked through it, how they kept their participants safe, all the things that they went through to put people in the garages, get cars there, and actually put the event on. So it's interesting from I think our standpoint. A lot of us looked at it and we were glad NASCAR was back on track, but I think our bigger interest was how did it operate? What did we learn? They're back on track again tonight if the weather holds in Darlington for a Wednesday night primetime race, which I'm interested to just see how the numbers of viewers are on a primetime night. We've also often talked about what would it be like to run a race off of a weekend. So that'll be interesting to watch as well, and then for them to quickly turn around and go back to Charlotte. So I'm just excited. I think, like you just said, to actually watch live sports. I love the documentaries we've been able to see and some of the behind the scenes stuff we've been able to see. But man, it's weird when you just even just have a baseball game or a basketball game or something just on in the background while you're working is normal life, and to miss that is. So to sort of have a live sport was kind of nice.
It's Doug Bowles with us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I had mentioned this, and I kind of want to get your feelings and see if they were somewhat similar. When NASCAR decided to go as they did on Sunday, I thought it was important for it to go off without any major negativity. And 3 days later, it looks like that they've had success. Now they're battling Mother Nature down there right now. There's no doubt in Darlington, and hopefully that race goes later on tonight. But was that important to you guys as well? Were you watching it to not only see how they were doing it and what you thought about it, how that might also equate to the IndyCar Series or the 500, and then also hoping that nothing major, negative, nothing bad happens? Because it seems like had that would have taken place, then we all kind of major steps back and kind of reset all of a sudden again. And that was my major concern going in.
And I think that was probably NASCAR's major concern going in. And I know they put a lot of effort into their protocols and how this was going to operate, and have been really thoughtful about it over the last several weeks, when it looked like they were going to try and race without fans at some point in time in May. So I don't know that any of us really worried about something major happening from a negative standpoint, but certainly you wanted to watch how the operations worked and what little things they've learned actually to make it better, or some of the things, when you try and scenario play in theory, you don't always get 100% of what's going to happen when you actually practice it. So, we were looking for what are the bumps in the road, not necessarily the negative things, but what bumps in the road might there be, and how would they make adjustments so that we could learn as we're putting together a lot of our different scenarios. So, but it seems like your point is well taken. It seems like it was received pretty well, and I think a lot of that's just due to all the homework that NASCAR put in on the front end to make sure that they were. That they were in a good position to be successful.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I'm not even going to say it was that weird. I mean, without fans, it looked odd, but with mask, but it still. I mean, had the racing feel when the race was going on.
It did have that, and that's true. I'm sure for the drivers and the crew members that were there, and I think it was well under 1,000 people in the venue when you included everybody. I'm sure that was a really strange feeling to not have the traditional pre-race and fans wanting autographs and those kind of things. I'm sure was really odd to get used to. But I think once the green flag dropped, they're all sort of in competition mode. I think it'd be the same as if the NBA said, "Hey, we're going to play basketball in arenas without fans to begin with." It'll feel strange until the ball's tipped, and then once the ball's tipped, people go into that competition mode, and they could, that's really their whole focus.
Doug Bowles joins us, and I'm certain that all these folks that I've heard from are going to practice competent social distancing. But have you been privy to hearing about all these various kind of individual family type of celebrations surrounding the race, whether it's practicing social distancing, but also being around the track on race day, some things that people are just going to take part in because it's so been installed as a fabric in their life forever?
Absolutely have heard about it and certainly expected it. And I know that people, and I'll probably be included, right? It's hard to not at least drive by the facility that you're used to going to every Memorial Day Sunday. We are cautioning folks as we try and make sure that we prove that racing fans are responsible and that we can do this the right way when we can have fans. We're just cautioning people to please do the best you can to behave and not put our industry in jeopardy. And we're asking people not to plan on coming to the Speedway and parking your car and hopping out and tailgating. If you want to park your car on Main Street or somewhere in the town and walk and get your photo at gate one or toast your number of years there, we're all for that. But we're just trying to do it in a really responsible way where we're sure that we're paying attention to what the governor and the mayor want us to do, and also knowing that we're trying to be on our best behavior so people understand that when we do get a chance to host fans that we're going to do it the right way.
It's Doug Bowles, Speedway president on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. We talked about you coming in studio with me on Friday and taking questions, taking calls, doing what we normally do in Pagoda Plaza, playing some of the music of those REO Speedwagon and Styx that would have been playing on Miller Lite Carb Day this year and some of the past as well. What else are you guys doing virtually to help those that really, really miss this particular weekend coming up?
Well, we're encouraging people to 500 at home, hashtag 500 at home. Let us know how you're celebrating at home. Decorate those porches. It is May, and May means racing, but also means summer's around the corner in Indiana, and that's part of the fun of having those porch parties and decorating our porches and just celebrating being Hoosiers. I'm really excited about Sunday and what NBC has put together to celebrate the 500. So 2:00 on Sunday, the team along with NBC have put together a really cool 1-hour tribute to folks that we should be thinking about on Memorial Day. Those folks who have paid the ultimate sacrifice, but also those folks that are in the front lines today as we battle through COVID. So there's a really, really cool hour's worth of Mike Tirico, Simon Pagino, Alexander Rossi, and some really cool performances. And then it'll lead into a shortened version of the 2019 race with some comments from Alex and Rossi in that epic battle that ended up with Simon winning last year. So that's at 2 on Sunday. So we're encouraging people to stay at home, tune in to NBC. I know that a lot of the Emma stations here in town are going to be doing playing a lot of the races as well. So for those folks that love it on the radio, you can get up first thing in the morning and you got racing going. So we're going to try and do the best we can to make it feel like race day, and at the same time remind people that for the first time in our history, hopefully on August 23rd, we'll race the Indy 500 outside of May.
It's Doug Bowl, Speedway Prez on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. I want to remind folks this, too. On Saturday, I've been doing this thing on B105.7 on Saturdays. I've been doing live all requests local radio, and hashtag JMV Takeover is what it's called. And this Saturday, while we'll still be in the decade of the 80s, I will be playing a lot of music from the 80s that has in the past been a Carb Day musical guest for you guys, too. So we'll work those in with requests as well coming up on Saturday down the hall on B from 6 until 10. We'll be doing that live. Live local radio on Saturday is awesome.
I'm excited to hear that. I'll be sure to tune in on Saturday because you and I love 80s music just about as much as anything. And I hope you'll play a little Sammy Hagar because that's still, to me, the Journey Carb Day concert was pretty awesome. But for me, the Sammy Hagar Carb Day concert still tops it all for me. And anytime I can hear a little Sammy Hagar on the radio, it makes my day.
I'm right there with you. I think about Journey, though, and going backstage with Neil Sean before the start of that and talking to him about that. That still gets me today, though. I mean, I still think about that because, Hagar is a rock legend, no doubt, but I didn't get to go backstage with him. I went backstage with Neil and learned a lot, and it was great before they went up there. And just to see that crowd that was in Carb Day celebrating the 100th back then is still eye-poppingly amazing to see how many folks were there for that Friday.
There's some of the images still, I'll run across them as we're looking for different things. And the number of people that were there for that concert, it's one you can't forget for sure. And I can't imagine for Journey to be on stage and look out at that sea of humanity who were just having a great time that day and singing along to basically every Journey song because you know it. And that was definitely a great concert. But like I said, for me, I'm just being a Sammy fan my whole life. It was pretty cool to have. And I got to when Sammy walked out on stage, I got to walk out behind him, like 30 feet behind him, and just to see the sea of people go crazy when he started playing was it's sort of like your Journey memory because I didn't get to do that for Journey, and it's pretty neat to see all those people having fun, and then just to see those guys just turn it on and rock the house is pretty neat.
And you are around people that meant so much to you when you were growing up. I mean, when I was little, you had every Journey album, and Sammy Hagar as well. And Sammy Hagar also lives one of the best lives of all time because that dude rocks it, and then he goes down to Cabo in Mexico and lives on the beach and drinks tequila. That's great.
Yeah, he's figured it out for sure. He's definitely done that. But REO and Styx was going to be a really good concert on Friday this week, and I'm bummed out we're going to miss that. But I'm certain that next year when we get to do it again, we'll come up with something just as epic to continue to make that day, the kickoff to the weekend. And it really has become a day that Indianapolis just sort of says, okay, it's take the day off work and let's go hang out at the racetrack and watch some cars and listen to some music. And it has become one of the best days of the year for sure.
Well, Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon has made it known on this show before how much he loves Indianapolis, has in the past and still does too. So are you guys thinking about trying to bring the same – I know it's all depends on where we are, one, but it always depends on routing and this and that. You guys have in mind maybe trying to bring back the same that you had, or I'm sure you're not even thinking about that yet. Hell, why am I even bringing that up? I'm just curious, I guess, but yeah.
We're not necessarily thinking about that, but it would be great. And REO is such a big deal, right? Because they're basically a Midwestern band, right? They grew up just on the other side of the Indiana-Illinois border, and so I think that's why they have that affection for Indiana, because they spent enough time here early on, and this city has always been a great place for them. So it was just going to be a really fun concert, and both those bands are bands that even young people, when you start playing the songs, go, oh, that's REO or that's Styx. It was going to be one of those ones that a multi-generational audience would have enjoyed.
Doug Bowl, Speedway president on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. IMS.com/500 at home is where you can go to check out all that they have for you. Follow the hashtag via social media, #500 at home. I'll be playing some songs with artists from the past at Carb Days coming up on Saturday night, too, with the hashtag JMV Takeover. And if you want to come in at 5 o'clock on Friday, we'll tip back some Miller Lights and talk to some folks and try to relive what normalcy is Pagoda Plaza greatness at that point in time. But 5 o'clock works for you.
I will be there at 5 o'clock with my 14 by 14 by 18 cooler full of Miller Lite.
Yes.
And we can build a pyramid.
Oh, the pyramid. Oh, you're going to make me sad, the pyramid. I miss the pyramid. And, I have some of the photographs that I cherish of everybody out in front in Pagoda Plaza, out in front of our stage, doing what they do or giving me the finger or whatever. Those are some of the most cherished photos that I have. And those are the best times that I've had being here, are those moments during Carb Day. Man, the pyramid. We're going to have to build the pyramid, yeah.
Well, I will see you on Friday a little bit before 5 o'clock.
You got it.
We'll look forward to at least pretending that we're at the racetrack with a whole bunch of people in front of us.
You got it, bud. Job well done. I mean, listen, I know this is all still a work in progress, but I can't imagine the level of work you guys are all doing over there. And again, shout out to you guys for doing that, and you for coming in here, coming up on Friday.
All right, we'll see you in a bit.
All right, Doug Bowl, Speedway president on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Oh, man, the pyramid about made me cry. I miss the pyramid. I miss all you guys giving me the finger. I do. I miss it all. Miss it all. Miller Lite Carb Day on Friday. And again, I'll let you know on how you can get involved in the virtual activities they have going on. IMS.com/500 at home. If you want to go there and check that out. Your call's coming up on the other side. I got a special one for you. One of our greatest all-time films would be Roadhouse, celebrated 31 years. Its 31st anniversary yesterday. He played multi-capable ass whipper for Brad Wesley, Jimmy, in the film Roadhouse. Marshall Teague, the actor, is going to join us coming up. Other side next. You're going to love it.
Yeah, things are different this May around the Brickyard. But if you listen carefully, you can still hear the echoes of champions cascading through the ages. And in Indy, May always means racing. This Friday, start race weekend with back-to-back 500 and 60, featuring the 1968 and 1999 races. Then on Sunday, we start at 10 a.m. with the 2016 race and finish with last year's race. Race Day Weekend on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, John here for WeGrowHairAndy.com. Some options for you in the world of hair growth. If you're losing yours and you want to do something about it, you can. Darren Andrews gives you that private consultation with WeGrowHairAndy.com today. Multi-unit hair grafting, artist robotic FUE, all things, all options that work with your hair regrowth. Real regrowth and following CDC recommended guidelines for your health and your safety. But it's options that remain. If you want your real growing hair again, let Darren Andrews tell you all about it. Online, WeGrowHairAndy.com today.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Your local Big O Tires is open and ready to serve you. Stop in for up to $150 off Big O brand tires and financing options tailored to you. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Interesting times, Indy. It's good to know Rhino Shield's helping folks end their painting worries like they did with Terry.
I've got a log home, and every 3 years I'd have to stain it, and it would cost me around pretty close to $1,000 each time.
Our crews always follow Indiana guidelines on social distancing. We work outside while you're safe inside.
A friend of mine heard about Rhino Shield, and he said I should give him a call.
While we're all catching up on projects, it's the perfect time to get a great deal in the 25-year guaranteed protection of Rhino Shield.
I would say that the best thing that you could do would have the Rhino Shield put on because of the excellent warranty that they offer.
Call today for a free virtual presentation and ask for our showcase homes near you where you can see our finished product firsthand from the safety of your car. Here's Rhino Shield's Shane Smith.
Call me at 888-RHINO-41. That's 888-RHINO-41.
No pain, don't Rhino. Go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Hey, it's JMV. If you're like most, you're spending a lot more time at home, so how's your water treating you? Does it leave your skin feeling dry? Do you notice the awful white buildup on your faucets? So now's the time to fix your problem water for a limited time. Connecticut is offering a $1,200 instant rebate on the most effective whole home system. You'll get a Premier Series water softener and a K5 drinking water station, and your home will be filled with soft, clean water. Connecticut remains open for regular business hours. Download the Connecticut Water app today, or for more info, ConnecticutIndy.com now.
Hi, I'm Ryan Kelly with thehomeloanexpert.com. The housing market is about to really take off. Everyone that had to sell still needs to sell, and everyone that wanted to buy still needs to buy. We are seeing homes come to market at record numbers, and we're just getting started. Mortgage interest rates are sitting near all-time lows, and that gives you more buying power. Get pre-approved for your new home in 5 minutes at thehomeloanexpert.com. The Home Loan Expert LLC, NMLS number 1326241.
George McGinnis, Roger Brown, Belt, and legendary Pacers. A legendary season.
The seventh and final game of the ABA Championship Playoff Series.
Coach Bobby Slick Leonard's Indiana Pacers made history in '73, winning their third ABA title in 4 years. With their backs up against the wall, the Pacers willed their way to a Game 7 win over the Kentucky Colonels.
The Indiana Pacers have won it.
Relive that epic game tomorrow night at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan and AM 1070 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Hey, you gonna stare all day or you gonna buy something?
I'm gonna stare all day.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Doug Bowles a little bit earlier. Kevin Bowen coming up at the 5 o'clock hour. Kevin Bowen's intro theme is going to be much different than this one. Promise you that. Lee and Turnbuckle Bill coming up in just a minute. Got some latest news regarding the NCAA. Division I Council has approved voluntary activities for athletes in football, men's basketball, women's basketball beginning June the 1st. And some NBA news coming up in the second. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, we celebrated the 31st anniversary of one of our greatest all-time films, Roadhouse, just yesterday. He played ass whipper for Brad Wesley, the chief ass whipper, Jimmy, in the film back in 1989, and he joins us now on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Actor Marshall Teague is with us. Hello, Marshall. How are you?
JMB, how you doing, brother? Good to hear your voice.
It's great to hear your voice. You have so many fans, there's no doubt nationwide, because of the cult following of that film released in 89, but specifically with this show and around Indianapolis, folks love you. They absolutely love you, Marshall.
Well, I love them too, because without the fans, we have nothing, and they have hung in there with this film and just brought it to a level that most people can't even attain.
When you were making it back then, did you have any idea that it was going to have legs, and especially the cult following that it developed?
Oh, hell no, man. We went to a fight and a movie broke out. We had no idea of this. Really, we didn't. It's basically a Western, and no, actually we had no idea. We had a job, basically.
that was about it. Well, I mean, I always say this. At the time, that film appealed to a lot of what we loved. I mean, there was some fighting. I mean, there were some great cliche words to live by that stand the test of time today. And there was a little bit of nudity. And I mean, you had it all for what I love. So, yes.
Full spectrum, man. It was full spectrum.
Marshall Teague's the actor. He's on the Eddie Moore Automotive Group hotline celebrating 31 years of Roadhouse. Were you as badass at that time as Jimmy was in the film?
Yes. You got to understand, I came from military and also a cop, and the black belts I do hold. So, yeah.
You now, if you and Swayze back in the day,
I don't call myself a badass, to be honest with you.
I call you bad. I hope that's okay with you.
Yeah. Thank you.
I do. Now, Swayze, Swayze was the man in that film. There's no doubt about that. But was he as anywhere near the neighborhood as good a fighter as you?
Different style. I mean, he had not studied. He had not fought, like I had. I had fought international competition, and I was NATO heavyweight champion. But you talk about a tough son of a gun. I mean, a tough son of a gun. Don't think for 1 minute the man couldn't hold his own. He can hold his own. A lot of those licks that you saw in the movie are for real. They're not faked.
So,
I think you could see that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it did. I mean, a lot of that did look incredibly realistic. How many of the moves did you actually do for your character Jimmy? And how many of those moves that you did you come up for the direction on your own?
Well, most of the fighting style, each one of us, Benny the Jet Urquidez, who is, retired 52-0, was the fight coordinator, and Charlie Paterni, the stunt coordinator. They coordinated it in rounds. And because I had a fighting style, they developed Patrick's, or Buddy's style around him. I had my fighting style. That is my fighting style.
And that is, and I read that about you too. That you kind of you were an actor, but you had that in your background. And from what I read, you've had a close relationship with Chuck Norris, correct?
45 years.
45 years. How did that relationship begin, Marshall?
In the ring.
Who won?
He did.
to the degree.
You honestly think I'm going to look? Chuck Norris, 6-time undefeated world champion. Do you seriously think I'm going to get on the radio and say I kicked Chuck Norris's butt? There is no freaking way.
I was kind of hoping that you would, though. To be honest, I was kind of hoping that you would. So.
Well, what you see is what you get. I mean, he is the master of his form. He is as good as they come, and I can tell you right now, he hits like a truck.
40 years in a relationship with Chuck Norris, and that's something else that's kind of interesting, Marshall, is he was big 40 years ago. But he has even grown for a completely different age group and demographic over the years like crazy. I mean, he's been a phenomenon as an actor, as a fighter, whatever level. I mean, he's really transitioned from era to era, age group to age group.
Well, if you think about it, in his era, the time of his fighting techniques, Bruce Lee, all that. He is a legend. I mean, Chuck Norris is a legend in the fighting world, in the movie business. You cannot mention his name, and there is not a person around the world that does not know who you're talking about. He is a legend.
So Marshall Teague, the actor, he's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Jimmy in Roadhouse celebrating 31 years. Its anniversary yesterday. So how'd you end up getting that role?
I had done about a year before that for Lethal Weapon. I went as the tech advisor for the movie, just laying it out there for the lead actor in that, and trying to give him some ideas about fighting, his character, what it's like to be that kind of a character. And I was supposed to get a role on it. I didn't get it. They were very nice about it. Mel Gibson could not have been nicer. But this role came up, and I understand. I don't know for this for a fact, but I think they were looking at Scott Glenn, and I think Scott didn't want to do it. And a friend of mine reminded the executive producer. He said, "You remember that guy that came in for Mel Gibson to train him and be that?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "He kind of is this guy. You might want to bring him in." So they brought me in. I came in and talked to Joel Silver. The whole interview for the movie lasted about 2 minutes. I walked in. He looked at me. He said, "Yeah, he's right." He said, "By the way," he said, "Can you fight?" I said, "Damn right." He said, "Do you like to fight?" I said, "Absolutely." He says, "Good, you're hired. We start in 2 weeks."
You guys,
that was it. That was the interview.
And it was a great call because on film, on screen, you and Patrick Swayze as counterparts, or as I've maintained, badasses. I mean, you guys had good chemistry with protagonist and antagonist characters in mind in that film.
Well, it's funny how that came about because it was kind of an unwritten rule. I mean, we did rehearse, but we didn't talk to each other. You know, the talking went through Benny and the stunt coordinator, Charlie, and we didn't communicate. I don't know who came up with the idea or something. We just didn't. We never communicated one word. I mean, not even good morning, until we walked on the set the first night of the fight. And I'm talking about the big fight that you see.
Yeah.
At the end, when he rips my throat out, go figure that. But that was the first time we actually met, you know, on film. I had been there for about a week, but I didn't say anything to him, and he didn't speak to me. That was the first time we ever communicated.
Man, that's awesome. Marshall Teague's the actor, played Jimmy on Roadhouse. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. You mentioned his signature finishing move was grabbing your throat. In that, you ended up floating across the lake back to Brad Wesley's place right there, dead as a doornail. And in fact, 103 times in roles, either on the big screen or in television, you have died. Is that inaccurate?
That's what I've been told. Yes, that's what I've been told. Evidently, I hold some kind of record. I've been told. I mean, do I go out and count how many times I die? No, I don't. But I usually, I go into shows, you know, some, not all the time. I play a lot of good guys, but they come in and they say, "Marshall, we love you, man. Just know that. We're glad you're here. We're going to kill you, but we love you, man." I mean, I've even had to make T-shirts, putting the number on the T-shirt of how they're going to kill me, what number I am. I have 2 or 3 T-shirts that have the number it was when they killed me on that show. So a lot of people got into it. So.
You know what? It's something I was doing a little research. I mean, I knew you from Roadhouse. I saw you on an episode of Knight Rider. I don't believe you died in that particular episode of Knight Rider.
No, I lived. I called my mom, actually. I called my mom and I said, "Mom, I'm living in this one." She said, "Oh, thank you."
But 103 times, this has just been guessed. I don't know how many films or television show roles you have had, but it's been addressed on IMDb that over 130. And if it's accurate, you've died in 103 of those. That is an incredibly high number. So you're doing something right, Marshall. You know what I mean? You're doing something right.
I give exceedingly good death. You know, what can I tell you? You know, somebody's got to do it, and I'm really good at it. And they like doing it to me, so great.
He's died 103 times in TV and big screen films. Marshall Teague, the actor from Roadhouse, is on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Got a great Roadhouse set story to tell, something that maybe nobody in my listening audience or very few people would know that you can share.
Oh, gosh. There are actually several, but I guess the one that I would like is the first night. And I think they may know about it. I mean, there's a lot of been said about Roadhouse over the years, but the first time the stunt coordinator and fight coordinator came up to me, and I didn't know they were doing this. I honestly didn't. This is not a joke. So they came up and they said, he's a little bit hesitant of fighting you. He knows of your history, and he's a little bit hesitant of fighting you. And I'm saying, okay. And I'm sitting there going, I said, he's a ballet dancer. What do you want? So they said, why don't you see, can you kind of irritate him a little bit and get him into it? And I said, oh, yeah, I can do that. He kicked me the first time, and when he finished, I sit there and dusted my shirt off, and I looked at him and I went, okay. And he came back and, and I said, that was kind of not very good. And he came back and we did it again. And I caught his foot the second one. And I pushed him down on the ground. And when I caught his foot, I said, look, man, I said, if that's the best kick you've got, this is going to be a wimp fight. And he stood up, and he was about as red as anything you could ever imagine in your life. I mean, his eyes, he locked on me. He got up off the ground. He turned around. He said, roll camera. He said, not the director. He said, roll the camera. They rolled the camera. And he came up, and he hit me that third time, and I went backwards through the air. My butt hit the ground, and I skipped across the ground like a rock on water. And he aired me out pretty good. I looked at him, and in my tough guy voice, I said, wow, that was a heck of a kick, man. He came over, offered me his hand, picked me up. He said, you like this blanky blank SHI, whatever. I said, no, I love it. He said, what do you say we leave the faces alone and let's just rock and roll and don't cheat the fans for one time? I said, you came to the right man and you came to the right spot.
Marshall Teague played Jimmy in Roadhouse. He's on the Eddie Moore Automotive Group hotline. Awesome conversation. I have a couple more things I did want to ask you regarding the film. Your attitude, I mean, your ego, your attitude, was that any way in the neighborhood? Or I'm assuming it wasn't, but if it was, how did you come up with because you had some great lines. You didn't have a lot of lines, but you had, say goodnight, Denise. Your ass is mine, boy. I thought you were good. You had great lines and a great egotistical way to deliver them, just like badass way to deliver them. Did you come up with that on your own?
There are... Yes, in many ways that was a part of me because you understand I came from being a cop and I did some work undercover and it's just and I was a fighter, so yeah, you're a little bit cocky, and you're getting to work with a guy that I didn't know him at the time, but I learned to love him closer than my own brother, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know that I'd call it cocky. It was confidence. I would put it in confidence. Not cocky, but you guys can call it anything you want to. But as far as the role, I think it pretty much spoke, Steve McQueen used to say, you don't need a lot of lines, you need the right lines.
Right.
And I knew that because he told that to Chuck Norris. Chuck obviously mentioned it to me. But it's not about the lines. It's about what you do with what you have. And if you make an impression, at the end of the day, when you make an impression, they'll remember what you did as opposed to somebody going out there and just running lines just for the sake of running lines. They'll remember what you did or how you looked or the intensity. They will get whatever it is you're selling if you do it and believe it. Tell the truth. I mean, that's the rule. You tell the truth. You don't go in there and lie to the camera. You tell the truth. When you go in there, I looked at Buddy. I looked at him as if I was going to kill him. And he looked at me like, I'm going to kill you back. So, it's one of those things. And it's just telling the truth. I don't think it's being cocky. I think it's confidence.
How was your relationship with Sam Elliott?
I love Sam. I've done 4 pictures with him, and I've known him for about 38, 39 years. He's the greatest guy. He loves my wife. He thinks she always asks me, he says, what did you do right to get her? And I said, I just did something. I did something right. And I said, I guess the smartest thing I ever did was marry her. So Sam is just what you see is what you get. He's a kind, wonderful, magnificent actor, and he'll back you. If you're working for him, he'll back you.
You've done so much. I mean, whether it's television or film in your past, I guess, is it obvious that you get the most feedback to this day from being involved as Jimmy in Roadhouse?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some pretty big films, and, but it really comes down to Roadhouse. It was a little film. I mean, by today's standards or anybody's standards, the budget really wasn't that big. But the people that came on it, everybody that came on that, every character you see in that movie came there for the same reason. They believed in it. And working with Buddy, I mean, Buddy didn't know a stranger. I mean, he could carry on a conversation with a tree stump. which I introduced him to that tree stump in the movie.
I think you kicked it. You got your leg. You got your leg broken. I think didn't Dalton break your leg in a tree stump of some sort, or at least a fork in a tree?
He didn't. No, he kicked me right in the gonads right while we were doing that. He kicked me square, but I also busted that log across his ribs and it cracked his ribs. He cracked my eye socket. So if that gives you an idea of realism, yeah.
Yes, that's exactly it. It looked real. I mean, it was you sold it to the viewers, and you still do today. All right, you taught in Lethal Weapon. Mel Gibson, I'm assuming, as you mentioned earlier, how to do a lot of the fighting because he was a bad dude in Lethal Weapon. And then obviously you fought with Patrick Swayze in the film Roadhouse. Who was the better natural fighter on film, in your estimation, of the two actors?
I would have to put them in equals because they both are very high rev individuals. I think you've obviously noticed that Mel has a very high rev attitude. He goes at things, his craziness. He can bring that on, even though he is a very gentle soul. He really is. He's a very gentle soul. I think he's gotten a bad rap over the years, but he's a very gentle soul. We all have our demons that we have to deal with. Patrick had his. Mel had his. I have mine. We all deal with them, just like anybody else. I mean, we're no different. We're human. You don't sit up on a pedestal, at least in my opinion. It's a job. That's what you do. You do a job you love, but you got to deal with it. But their particular personalities, most of them were very intense, to say the very least. So I couldn't pick one or the other. I really couldn't. They're just both that way.
Was Sam Elliott a good fighter?
Sam is wiry. I mean, he's a wiry son of a gun. He's not somebody that dances across the stages and does kicks and things like we did, but he's just wiry. I mean, you grab a hold of him, it's like grabbing a 2x4 with attitude, and and when you look into his eyes, I mean, when he just looks at, I mean, you think about it. Every morning you go to work, he looks you in the eye, he goes, "How you doing, amigo?" And that's just Sam, but.
Oh, I can only imagine.
He's a great guy. He's super guy. Mel was an incredible gentleman. Couldn't have been nicer to me. And Patrick, like I say, I developed a friendship with Patrick, and he with me so unbelievably from the heart. You can't even imagine that. I miss him every single day of my life. I think about him every single day of my life.
Marshall Teague.
And that will never go away.
Marshall Teague, the actor from Roadhouse, played Jimmy. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline with us. A couple more things before I let you go. Sure. People want to know the pool cue scene. Were you good with the pool cue?
I'm good with weapons, period. But the pool stick, you study martial arts and you study, weaponry, and it's called a bow in the martial arts, a staff. And a pool stick is really nothing more than a staff. So when you swing it around and use it, it becomes an extension of you. I think you saw that.
Yeah.
It becomes an extension of your glowing personality, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, you have that. There's no doubt, and it's amazing. I found out so much that I wanted to know here. Man, your personality holds strong today. There's no doubt. That's a fantastic career you had. Looking back on it, that's going to make you proud.
Look, man, I've been very blessed. I make no bones about it. I mean, when I came to Hollywood, people, said, you an actor. As a matter of fact, the sheriff, when I was the sheriff, he said, "You're going to be an actor?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "You do realize that an actor has to have a personality?" He said, "You don't have one. And secondly, they have to have a sense of humor, and you damn sure don't have a sense of humor. So good luck." And years later, he did an interview for somebody about me, and he was quite nice about it, but he flat said, "You don't have a personality or a sense of humor." So good luck.
That's amazing stuff right there too. I mean, from your relationship with Chuck Norris to obviously Patrick Swayze, Mel Gibson, and just a lot of the stuff that nobody knew. And I'm telling you, nobody really knew about you dying 103 times in your film and television history until today either. That's amazing.
Honestly, you're told this by people that go out and look at things all the time. I don't do that. I do a show, and when it's over with, I'm done with the show. If sometimes I'll watch them, sometimes I won't. But that's one thing. That's the one topic that I never really touched on. I mean, people always ask me, are you going to live in this one? No, but you don't keep count. And then sometimes years ago, somebody started keeping count, and then people started getting up with it. So I've been told this. Could I authenticate that for you? No, because I'm not going to do the research on it. I let other people do that, and I just sit back and go, okay, thank you.
Marshall, before I let you go, best film and worst film of your career.
Oh, gosh, the worst film would have to be, I don't know if it's the worst. The people were very nice. The movie was called Vendetta, and it was a women in prison movie. I played the love interest of the chick that got thrown into prison to go kick all the girls' ass. But, I can't say that it was a top-of-the-line movie that I ever did. But, I got a job. What can I tell you? One of the best movies, and it was just because of what it had to say to me, and because I love my country very much. I make no bones about it. Anybody that asks me, I will tell them I love my country. I love my faith. I don't really care if they like it or don't, But that movie that I did was called Last Ounce of Courage, and I always tell people it's about every one of you out there. It's not about me at all. It is about every person I look at every single day in this country, and I think about them every day.
So,
I mean, I have friends. If I could interject this, if you don't mind. I have friends, that I've made over the years doing movies, and I can tell you, two of them are very dear friends. I didn't know them, but you make these friends, and it developed two ladies, Mary and Lisa. They're just fans. They started out as fans, and now they're friends. We communicate all the time, and they're the sweetest people you ever met in your life. But those are what comes out of this. That's what comes out of all this. You meet these people, and they say, I saw your work. People come up to me and say, I hated you in that film. I could look back at them and say, thank you. That's a compliment. That's great. I appreciate that.
That's what you're going for, of course. That is what you're going for.
My mother, my own mother, which I didn't want to go see Roadhouse when it came out, but what does she do? She jumps in a bunch of vans with all her friends from church. Yeah, you're right. 20 women drove to Knoxville, Tennessee, 40 miles away, picked up their whatever that Happy Meal is they get at McDonald's, whatever. But they went to the movies. And there was that one scene where I said that one line, and one of her friends stood up in the middle of the film, pointed at my mother and said, that's Doris Teague's son. Of course, my mother slid under the seat. So when I got home at night and I was informed by my brothers that she had gone, I called her and I said, okay, what'd you think, Mom? My mom, well, she said, there started out with this. You'll know where this is going. She started out with, well, then you hear crickets. And then she looked and she came back and she said, personally, I'm glad they killed you because you're a prick, and my son wouldn't do that. So,
that is an awesome story to end with right there, Marshall. Fantastic. Fantastic. I was so excited to have you on. Listeners are so excited to have you on. And, man, you did it up right. I appreciate you. And job well done on a fantastic career. And if you don't mind, we might reach out again at some point and go over some news stories. How about that?
You can do it at any time, please. I thank you so much for having me on. I will pass this on to you and all your listeners. Please stay safe out there. Communicate. Keep your distances. But, get outside. Get outside, breathe some fresh air, enjoy. Please be safe. I thank you so much. Marshall
Teague, thank you. That was I went way over. My apologies, but that was awesome. That was awesome. Marshall Teague from Roadhouse holds the record in Hollywood of 103 on-screen deaths. It's amazing. I'm way over. Quick break. We'll come back with you next.
Shut in or just hanging out. Nice thing about Kevin Bowen's podcast and the latest sports news is you can listen anytime, anywhere. 1075thefan.com or your inbox for free.
Great news. Howald Heating and Air is open for routine maintenance and service with a continued focus on health and safety. Howald Heating and Air will serve you safely while fulfilling their promise, which is they will wear proper PPE. They will deliver quality, honest work, arrive on time with a smile, and listen to your questions and concerns. I know Larry Howald values his family just like I do, and he will make sure to keep yours safe. HowaldHeatingandAir.com or call 317-255-HEAT for routine service or emergency needs. Howald Heating and Air, where coming home never felt so good.
JMV here for my friends at Diamonds Direct. Diamonds Direct is back. Diamonds Direct is back and, well, really better than ever right now. Couple of reasons why. I mean, you can just kind of look at it. Coming back, being open, and then having for you a great deal. And I mean a spectacular deal. 5 years, 0 interest, nothing down. Rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, fashion jewelry, colored gemstone jewelry, even GIA certified diamonds. 5 years, 0 interest financing. It is the absolute best. If you need a great gift, this is it at Diamonds Direct. They're open on Memorial Day. You got to check their business hours right now, but they're open with the best deal ever. 5 years, 0 interest financing, nothing down at the best. It's Diamonds Direct, Keystone at the Crossing.
Where the salons can't open yet. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis with your coronavirus update. Signs demanding Marion County salons and barbershops be opened were carried by people in front of the State House Wednesday afternoon, like Donna.
We're a mile away from Hendricks County, and all those salons are open, but yet we're closed.
She says she wants to earn a living. Mayor Jill Hogsett says it's not safe enough yet in Marion County. Indiana enters Phase 3 of the reopening plan Friday morning. Governor Eric Holcomb explains that means you can gather in a group of up to 100 people with proper distancing.
Restaurant and dining rooms will remain open at 50% capacity, but retail stores and malls, they will be able to operate at 75%.
Campgrounds and gyms can reopen, and practices for non-contact sports can start. That's everywhere but Marion, Lake, and Cass counties. You've got another update coming up from the WIBC Newsroom. I'm Chris Davis.
The talk of Gasoline Alley with Speedway historian Donald Davidson. Tomorrow evening at 6 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Can I buy you guys a drink? Guess not.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Oh, man, that was awesome. Yeah, that's a bucket lister for me right there. I love that. Marshall Teague. Give him some love on Twitter, would you? Just had some incredible conversations. I mean, incredible. Patrick Swayze, Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon, Roadhouse, holds the record in film and in TV of his 130-plus roles. He has died in 103 of them. That's a Hollywood record, so they say. Man, that was great. Yeah, give him, again, go to @MarshallRTeague, play Jimmy in Roadhouse, and tell him how much you enjoyed it because that was awesome. That just absolutely made my day. And I hope you enjoyed it, too. I got to go to a quick break. We'll come back. We're going to be joined by Kevin Bowen. Your phone calls, if you're on hold, that and more, 5 o'clock hour. That was awesome. Next.
Here's what's happening with The Fan.
Listen to The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe for your chance to take the pop quiz. Great prizes every day. Follow The Fan on social media. Fans on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Like and follow The Fan for updates, giveaways, and all things indie sports. And The Fan supports local restaurants. You can do the same. Go to 1075thefan.com to check out what places are offering delivery options because we're all in this together.
For more information, just click on 1075thefan.com.
Hey, Johnny for Connecticut. You've been holed up in the house for a long time. You probably have noticed that your water's not tasting great. Your water is not smelling great. Probably noticed you have problem water. If you don't have Connecticut, you don't have the best. And Joe, John, and Dennis giving you a great opportunity to get the best right now and get a $1,200 instant rebate to boot. Premier Series water softener, K5 drinking water station. You buy that in your home, and you get a $1,200 instant rebate from my friends at Connecticut. Great water, no more bottled water, and $1,200 back from Connecticut. Locations open: Northeast Side Castleton, Southside US 31 and Southport Road. The Connecticut Water app for discounts and more. Download that to your smartphone or device today or online, ConnecticutIndy.com.
This is Indy Sports Center. WFNI, WIBC HD2, W298BB, WIBC HD3, W228CX, Indianapolis.
The Pacers face the Kentucky Colonels in the 1973 ABA Finals. Tomorrow night at 7 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Wow. I don't know what to say. I guess the only thing I can say is I'll promise to keep rocking and rolling, making better films.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Inside you, I see it showing. Oh, the seed inside you, baby, do you feel it growing?
Do you feel it growing?
Woo!
By the way, at Marshall Artigue, tell him how much you enjoyed that. Jimmy from Roadhouse, that was outstanding. I get a lot of your action coming up in a bit, but it was great. Tell him that you heard it and how much you liked it. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline right now. Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com is with us. There's your Paul Anka intro right there. You enjoying it?
We need this baby to come ASAP. We need it.
Turn it back up. A little bit more for Kevin. Celebrate Kevin Bowen.
Oh, my God.
Hey, you guys sing that to one another, don't you? Weekly?
3 weeks from today, John. I can't come soon enough.
Oh, 3. See, and then I'm gonna have to find you a new re-entry song after that, man. I got 3 more weeks of this, and that's it.
Yeah, knowing you will find some other just absolutely horrific song to make me sweat every time I come on your show every Wednesday at 5.
Have you ever seen the film Roadhouse?
No.
God dang it. Boy, you and Kyle Udemark here. Now, you've got, before you come on next Wednesday, this is for both of you, too, even though I think Kyle's going to go on vacation or something. But for both of you, you have to watch the film Roadhouse before you get back on here, okay?
Okay.
Because I just had Jimmy from Roadhouse on. I just had Jimmy from Roadhouse on. He's much older now, but Jimmy from Roadhouse, and it was just one of the more spectacular conversations I have had in a long time right here. And we are celebrating that. And I got to have that connection with you because this spanned the test of time here. I mean, it does go to the much younger generation. Folks still talk about that, still watch it. But I got to get you guys in on it because I thought that you hadn't seen it, and we got to get you to see it much like Kyle.
I'm not going to lie. When I saw you had, and this is going to make you cringe and probably make many of your listeners cringe, but I saw when you had on Marshall Teague, I was like, oh, is that another Teague, like brother or cousin or something that is like a Pike star and is great at basketball? That's what I assumed.
So you thought Marshall Teague was the older brother of Jeff Teague, is what you thought, right?
Yeah. I don't know. Is there another one younger than Marcus Teague? I just was like, wow, there's another Teague that's just dominating Indianapolis basketball. I guess I haven't heard of.
Not Marcus Teague or Jeff. It's Marshall Teague. Yes, older brother.
Gotcha.
No, it was not a former Pike High School basketball standout. It was a badass dude in one of the greatest films of all time. That again is you got to watch that before you come back on next Wednesday. Okay.
Okay, I will.
All right. Roadhouse. That is your homework assignment right there. Kevin Bowen, 107.5 The Fan, joins us on the Eddie Moore Automotive Group hotline. The Colts trotted out a couple of other players a little bit earlier today, one of those being Anthony Walker. Anthony Walker is again going to be wearing a different number.
Yes. Yeah. Switched from 50 to 54.
Yep.
He didn't want to say this, but I have a feeling there was maybe some money involved in the exchange. He played the smart card for a guy that's only been in the league for 3 years and said that he wanted veterans Justin Houston and DeForest Buckner to get back to their normal jersey numbers. For Houston, that would be 50, what he wore in Kansas City, and then Buckner would wear 99, what he wore in San Francisco and what Houston wore last year. So, yeah, a little bit of a number change. I'm trying to think who else. I think Rock Ya-Sin changed his number as well to 26, which obviously Clayton Geathers used to wear. So, yeah, I know a lot of people. There is a crowd out there that's obsessed with numbers and, like, jersey, aesthetics, if you will. So, yeah, the Colts have a couple switches this year with that.
What do you think the going rate is, price tag-wise, for giving up your number to somebody else like that?
Oh, God, that's a great question. I remember, when Frank Gore came here in 2015, Vontae Davis was wearing his number, 21, and I want to say it was like 15, 20 grand thrown around there, if I remember correctly, and Vontae said no, which, if Vontae, would have known how the rest of his career played out, maybe he would have, wanted that money a little bit more. But, yeah, I think that's what was thrown around there. Now, for a guy like Anthony Walker, I mean, you're a former fifth-round pick that's in a contract year. That money could mean a whole lot to you. So, I don't know what the going rate is, but I do recall that, about a handful of years ago, Frank Gore and Vontae Davis.
It's Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So Frank Reich met with you guys yesterday, and he brought up some of the things that we have talked about and something that I've really focused on in the past couple of months, especially since Phillip Rivers was brought in here. One is it's an absolute messy disaster if he is not here longer than 1 year for this team. I mean, really for everybody. I mean, they are banking on him being good enough, this team being good enough, and him having at least a couple of years of longevity, even if they brought him in on a 1-year, $25 million deal. And the other aspect, Kev, you can talk about is their usage of Nyheim Hines. I thought that it was going to go up majorly, and I don't think there's any bluffing or any sandbagging going on here. They are going to lean on him to do a lot of things offensively for this team this year.
Yeah, and I don't know, if we're going to see a huge increase in how many snaps he's on the field, but I think when he is on the field, he will be much more part of the game plan than he was last season. I felt like there were too many times last year where you look down at a box score after the game and you're like, wow, Nyheim Hines played this amount of snaps and yet only had, 4 touches or 2 catches or something like that. He showed late in the season that what he can do with the ball in his hands is a luxury that you don't have with a lot of guys on this football team. And that was his calling card at NC State. He was a receiver there early in his career, then was a running back his final season. And he just gives you kind of that present-day dual threat nature to an offense that I think is such an attractive chess piece for Frank Reich. But it hasn't been utilized enough, I think, offensively. There just hasn't been that same sort of big play element that you thought was going to be there. When he did come out of NC State.
Have they not given him enough of a chance? Or could they just a year ago not really do it by virtue of what they believe Jacoby Brissett was capable of doing? Where's the balance there?
I think a little bit it does have to be on this coaching staff to a degree. But if you look at purely his numbers last year, I mean, Frank Reich threw out earlier in the week, it wouldn't surprise me if Nyheim Hines catches 10 balls in a game this season. I think to me, when I first heard that, I was like, whoa, 10 passes for a running back in a game? That's quite a lot. And then I, started looking it up and I was like, wow, Nyheim Hines had 9 catches on 2 different occasions with Andrew Luck in 2018. And then you look at his numbers from last season with Jacoby Brissett under center, and if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he had 1 game of more than 4 catches. So he just wasn't utilized enough, which is a bit odd to me because I'm thinking, well, Jacoby and the Colts didn't take many chances downfield last year. You know, you would think that check down would have been a huge part of this offense. So I think it's huge. They've talked about Phillip Rivers being a guy that, you know, wants to find those running backs, wants to get the ball out quick. And then it's up to, you know, this offensive system and the game plan to, okay, here, Paris Campbell, here's the ball in space. Okay, Nyheim Hines, you know, when's the last time the Colts have had a good screenplay with a running back? Like, it seems like eons ago. Like, those sorts of plays. Think about last year in that Chargers game. If I'm not mistaken, Austin Eckler had like a 50-yard touchdown off of a screen or off of some sort of dump pass where he did 90% of the work. Like, that's I think, something that this offense has been lacking. And Hines has got to be a big, big part of that.
It's Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And something else we all figured out before was actually said was exactly what they expect out of Phillip Rivers. Now, you know, financial terms, it is not something that's going to completely mess them up if it doesn't work out. But believe me, they're not even thinking about that, because if it doesn't, it's a disaster for this team, because, again, you're going to be in this constant revolution of searching for the next quarterback. So they are putting all their chips on the Phillip Rivers side of the table right now and hoping that because they play to the level in which they expect, that he gets another year after this one, even though they're not contractually obligated presently to it.
Correct. And I think two things stand out to me, John, about that. And first, let's go with the contractual obligations. I think it was very wise of them not to give Phillip Rivers the sort of deal that Tom Brady got.
I agree. Completely agree. Yes.
Of, you know, fully guaranteed 2-year sort of thing, because that would tie your hands financially and would guarantee, you know, pretty much that he's going to be your quarterback in 2021. So I think that was a very wise decision by the Colts. Second, and I guess a little worry that I have is, does this set the bar a bit low for grading Phillip Rivers this season? Because Phillip Rivers strikes me as a pretty stubborn guy. And I can't see him walking away on his own. You know, I know his son, I think he's going to be a 7th grader. He wants to coach him in high school, so theoretically he would like to play 2 more seasons. Again, he just doesn't strike me as a guy that'll be very easy to push out the door. And if this season doesn't go according to plan and you go 8-8 and Phillip Rivers looks like a middle-of-the-pack quarterback in this league, or maybe even worse than that this season, what's that decision process going to be like? You know, are you going to say, well, you know, Jacoby, you know, he'll go somewhere else in free agency, and Jacob Eason, we're not ready to hand the keys to him yet, and, you know, we don't want to have some massive trade up in the 2021 draft and just hand over the starting quarterback position to that rookie. Now, all of a sudden, are you running it back with Rivers, and you know what he is, a very, you know, if he is a middle-of-the-pack quarterback at the age of 39, that would be my concern of, if he doesn't reach the level that you think he's at, and if his career is tapering off a bit, are you paying top 10 quarterback money for an average quarterback in this league? That would kind of be my worry of, like, you just get into the situation next offseason where it's like, all right, there's really no other decision that we can make. Like, I don't think there's going to be a quick fix in free agency next year. I don't think that, you know, you're going to fall into that. So I guess that is the one concern that I have of just, all right, what standard is Phillip Rivers going to play at this coming season, and what will that mean for his future here in Indianapolis for the 2021 season?
Is there any way that they play well and maybe he's kind of what he was a year ago, that he doesn't return? Because I don't see there any way. I think if this team goes into the realm of expectations, which are high, I don't think there's any question about it for a team that was 7-9 and disappointing a year ago. But is there any way that you can see, other than injury-wise, that they wouldn't bring him back if they have team-wise a successful year?
No. And honestly, I would move the bar below successful. Like, that's kind of what I was trying to get at there, of, like, I think if they go 8-8, he could be back.
No, really? I don't see that. That's where I think that they have FUBAR, because that is a serious problem.
Where else do you go, though?
Yeah, I mean that's a hell of a. I don't know. I don't know what they do. I can't see them going 8-8 and paying him $25 million to return if they miss the postseason. Because they'll. Yeah. I mean, people by that time people will be carrying torches and pitchforks around here, if that happens.
And that's why. And this is another discussion that we can get into probably more during July when you aren't playing that song anymore. Is I am of the thinking of like if this season goes south or if Phillip Rivers were to get hurt at some point this season, and I know this goes against what so many people believe in. But I probably wouldn't turn to Jacoby Brissett. I'd probably turn to Jacob Eason because I just think that you know what you have in Jacoby Brissett. You know he's not the long-term answer. To me, it's like Jacob Eason needs some game reps to evaluate him. I don't think he's the long-term answer, but I can't definitely say that. Like there is some talent there. So if this season were to go south, and whereas last year you thought that dressing Brian Hoyer was smart for the final 2 games of the season, even though it meant absolutely nothing, that can't happen. If you have the opportunity, in my mind, to turn to that rookie, again, barring some injury or just a season I don't think anyone is expecting with Rivers and this team in general, I would try to get a look at Eason and just see what you have there. Okay, does he show you in a 3 or 4 game span that, like, wow, there's something to work with? And then you might give him more of a chance moving forward. But again, I know that's a conversation that is way, way down the road and probably not even realistic here.
And that's the worst case scenario because I think what that does, that entails or describes exactly the amount of confidence they have and what they're actually banking on that quarterback to help raise them too. I mean, they think in what they have done this offseason is that they're a quarterback higher level play away from contending. And I'm not just talking about in the South.
Yes. And I look at it and, outside of what, half a dozen teams in the league, maybe a little bit more than that, virtually everyone is in quarterback purgatory. And the Colts are in that. Like they are now in quarterback purgatory. They don't know what they have, even in the short term, but especially in the long term at that position. So in my thought process, I'm like, okay, how do you get out of that? How can you get to the level of this is our guy for the next X amount of years, and we believe that we can be a consistent 11-win football team and getting back to being kind of a perennial AFC South contender and then inevitably an AFC contender. So that's kind of my thought process with all of this. I get why they went with Rivers this season. There weren't, I think, a whole lot of options to get to more of that longer-term answer. So I understand it, but I'm just acknowledging kind of the situation at hand of you are in this limbo like so many teams are in the NFL, and it's a bit of a race to get out of that, sort of murky water. And for now, the Colts are like, let's get the quick fix in here while we continue to search and evaluate for that longer-term answer.
It's Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. And we should probably just mention that if the worst-case scenario does happen, there are going to be issues across the board, a hell of a lot worse just than, the quarterback situation. Because, I mean, you're going to lose a lot in the translation there as far as what people think about the direction of this organization. And that's why so much is being banked on them, being a postseason team, more than just an AFC South contender in this case. Yeah, I mean, seats are going to get very warm if you aren't able to make the playoffs, especially with the playoffs expanding to a seventh team in each conference. I mean, now nearly half the teams in each conference make the playoffs. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, if you are to, miss the playoffs this season, there will be warmer seats. Do I think in any way, shape, or form Chris Ballard and Frank Reich should lose their job? Of course not. I don't. But those seats would get warmer because you are now to the point now where you've made this drastic shift defensively and you've made notable moves offensively to where you've got to start to prove it. And the wins and losses have got to start to be in your favor if this, sort of progression and foundational building is going to continue, and you're going to be at the helm of it. Because I just don't see how, you could have a 7-9 sort of season and there not be some questions about,
man, that's 5 out of 6 years missing the playoffs.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't add up.
Yeah, that's even tough to talk about because that's just how much confidence they put in Phillip Rivers. What type of numbers? What type of, compared to what we saw from Jacoby, and we know that whole run the damn ball mantra was basically created. It's great when it works and you win, but when you don't and you lose, you're boring as hell. And they transition from run the damn ball, it's great you're 5-2, to being boring as hell by the remainder of the season. What type of workload do you expect them to put on Rivers' shoulders compared to what we saw? I mean, overall, while healthy, that being on Brissett's shoulders with the Colts a year ago.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think there will be a little bit more, passing game responsibility out of Rivers. I don't know how many just like purely more throws they will ask him to make over the course of a game, but I think they'll definitely ask him to make, a little bit more challenging throws or, take a few more chances. The Colts sent out a highlight the other day of Jacoby in that Tampa Bay game late in the season, and that felt like one of the few games all year, at least early on, where he took some chances down the field in that game. And so I think it's those types of throws that they want to see a little bit more of. They still want to be very committed to running the football. And again, like we've talked about, Jonathan Taylor is the 41st overall pick. He's not coming in here to have 6 or 7 carries per game as a rookie. Like, he needs to be heavily involved in this offense. And I still think there are some question marks about your passing game weapons. The health at wideout and tight end are of huge importance this season. So, maybe a couple more throws per game for Rivers. But I think it's just more of the difficulty and more of taking some chances down the field. And Ryan Kelly, I thought, put it pretty accurately today. We talked to him on a Zoom call. At times last season, and this is what Kelly said. Kelly said he felt like the Colts played, to lose almost, afraid to lose, not playing to win, not being that super aggressor and going and winning the fourth quarter. So many times you'd look at those offensive numbers last year in the fourth quarter and it'd be like 4 series for the Colts, 2 first downs, and 20 yards of total offense. It's just terrible numbers of, hey, maybe that clock will just dwindle and it'll be triple zeros before we know it. Like, that's not the sort of mantra I think Frank Reich wants out of his football team. So I think Rivers will allow for a little bit more of let's go finish it ourselves versus relying on others to kind of fail at that.
Well, I mean, last year's Frank Reich was not even comparable to rookie season Coach Frank Reich here. I mean, you know what? I mean, they're just two completely different things. You need to understand why, because it starts at the quarterback position. But they were completely different.
Yeah, and he would never say this publicly, but I think he probably felt restricted by his personnel.
Yeah, sure.
And quarterback would be the top of that list, but also he's looking out at his wideouts late in the season, and it's not a group of wideouts that you were expecting by any means. With Hilton and Funchess and Campbell all dealing with different injuries, and Ebron pretty much quitting on the team halfway through the year as well. So I think you've got to get back to being a team that kind of dictates to their opponents. And I think the same could be said for both sides of the ball, because the defense, I don't think, does that enough at all from a scheme standpoint. I know the Colts would disagree with that, but I just think you want to be the one that's dictating a little bit more. And certainly last season, the Colts were not that, especially after the first month and a half of the season.
Hey, Kev, Frank Reich talked at length yesterday regarding Ryan Kelly kind of transforming into an alpha dog, if you will. So does that mean that extension time is on the way here?
I think so. Yeah, it would not surprise me at all. Kelly, like I said, talked to us earlier today, mentioned that Jimmy Sexton, one of the bigger agents in the NFL who represents him, has had some talks with Chris Ballard. And that, to me, when you listed the sort of extensions the Colts could have this offseason, I always felt like Kelly was atop that list because, after the injury, kind of plagued seasons he had in 2017 and 2018, he got back to being a 16-game starter. I mean, he started every game along with everybody else up front last season, and that was a big deal to Chris Ballard. I think Frank Reich loves how he carries himself. I mean, he is a no BS sort of guy. But I think he's kind of the right blend of lead with your actions, but also have a verbal component that is certainly a must for any center in the league. But I think he gives you a little bit more of that up front, which they really, really like. So, I think Kelly deserves it. It would not shock me at all if he became one of the highest paid centers in the league this offseason. He is going in the final year of his rookie deal.
From 1075thefan.com, Kevin Bowens on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Before I let you go, I think everybody would be fine right now with both baseball and the NBA returning with no fans. Do you think that anybody out there would be fine with football returning on any level with no fans?
I think it depends who you ask. I mean, NFL or college, I think college probably wants more of that fan atmosphere, especially with how big those stadiums are and how much college athletic programs are just driven by what your football team brings in and your football program brings in. I mean, from an NFL standpoint, TV contracts are absolute king, and I think you're even seeing it in how baseball is playing out. Of like, baseball has kind of gone away from some of the bubble talk because their regional networks mean so much, and they feel like they need to be playing in their local, ballparks and whatnot. Whereas the NFL, yes, there is some ticket gate revenue that comes into it, but it's a small piece of the pie compared to what those TV contracts look like. Everything is better with fans in the building. Atmosphere is going to be great. People are like, whoever won the NASCAR race. Was it Kevin Harvick?
Kevin Harvick.
That who won on Sunday? Yep. Yeah. He mentioned afterwards, how weird it felt once he got out of the car and just not hearing anybody cheer for him. He's burning out and whatnot. Like, I think you're going to get more of that in football, in basketball, those sports. But from a survival standpoint, football can survive without it. Baseball especially is the one that I think it's a must to play, because them going potentially a full season without playing, like, that can't happen for a sport that I think already is swimming a little bit upstream in terms of making sure that they still capture some of the eyes of, more kind of casual sports fans out there.
Listen, there's nowhere baseball can't come back if dudes aren't allowed to spit. All right. There's just no way. I mean, even like
How
you.
about some of those rules?
Have you ever? Do you spit when you're playing golf?
All the time, much to my as much as it pissed my mom off. Yeah.
Oh yeah, listen. I spit. I've never walked onto a baseball field, a diamond, in any shape or form, and not spit.
Oh, of course, yeah. How else do you entertain yourself in between pitches?
Spit. I mean, even if you're not playing. I mean, I walk out there, spit. Immediately spit. So I don't know how in the world you can force these guys not to do it.
Trying to think of some of the other ones of, like, the guys that aren't coming into the game, they're going to sit in the section behind the dugout.
Yeah.
They can't be, like, are they going to serve beer in that section?
No, you can't cuss either. I'll be able to cuss. I mean, these guys cuss like crazy. So.
Yeah, I get it, and I know from a legality standpoint, there's a whole lot of stuff that you've got to check boxes on, but we'll see how it all unfolds for baseball here, and potentially basketball. With some of this talk about Orlando and June 1st, getting guys back from their own facilities and whatnot. Hopefully, in less than 2 months, we'll have baseball and basketball back.
Yeah. So you're expecting basketball in Orlando coming up here in mid-July? Is that your expectation?
Yeah, I mean, I would say, optimistic expectation. Yeah, I mean, I think whenever you and I have talked about this the past few weeks, I've always said mid-July at the earliest. And then definitely, I think you go straight into the postseason. So I think that is the goal. Certainly very fluid. Orlando makes sense, though, from a Disney standpoint, and, ESPN and Summer League being there and all of those things. And it does seem like, unlike baseball, it does seem like there is kind of this popular banding together of these high-level players of like, look, let's do it. This, we got whatever, X amount of weeks to finish the season, and it just seems like baseball, with owners not helping them, are at a bit more odds.
Kevin Bowen is with us. All right, homework assignment the next week. You got to watch Roadhouse.
Got it. Yeah, especially if we continue to have the weather that we've had. Yeah, that'll be.
Well, if March continues for a fourth month, so we're hoping that March goes away. Hey, turn me up over here. This is closing for Kevin Bowen. That's going to be your intro music in 3 weeks, right here.
God, my head just did a quick little turn, thinking that was already happening, and that I'd missed something earlier in the day.
No, this is your segment starting theme sound effects, if you will. Turn it back up again. Let's hear it again.
Oh my God. You're gonna drum up a lot of bad memories for many of your listeners out there of Sleepless Night.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. All right, my brother, I appreciate you more than you know, and hopefully we get to see you again soon. You still got that beard?
I do, yeah, growing it back right now. I know you got to hit a break, but what are you doing for Carb Day?
Doug Bowles is going to come here in the 5 o'clock hour, and we're going to drink and build a pyramid, and we're going to take calls, hopefully, of people that are drinking too, safely and responsibly, but drinking. So, yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we're going to drink. I feel this Carb Day to me is the best day of the year to be on the radio. For me, it's the best day of the year because that is my element with the people. And I so cherish that and enjoy, no matter what they're saying to me, and they say a lot, and that's great. But it's normally really nice. But I miss that, so I just miss being on remote right now. I love that, and I haven't had that since what was it, March the 15th when everything shut down, the 11th or whatever the hell it was, when everything shut down. That was the last remote I have, and I miss it massively right now. I do.
Yeah, you thrive in those environments, and I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago the first time I actually saw you do your show from that area on Carb Day, and I was like, that is his element like no other. And Chris Denari's up there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, Chris probably wants to get off stage ASAP, and John could be up here until Sunday morning with Tony Cass.
That's so great. So great. I'm going to miss it, but Doug Bowles is going to come in 5 o'clock hour on Friday, and we're going to drink Miller Lights for Miller Lite Carb Day and take calls. That's what we're going to do.
I love it. That's great.
All right, Kev. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Yep. See you, John.
Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com. Billy, we'll get to you on the other side and calls to close it out on what has been a spectacular day. Doug Bowles, Kevin Bowen, and Jimmy from Roadhouse. Marshall Teague even called back and talked to Kyle and thank him and thank Kyle for having him on. Awesome. Give Marshall Teague some love on Twitter, too. You guys are doing a great job of that. Back with you next.
Yeah, things are different this May around the Brickyard. But if you listen carefully, you can still hear the echoes of champions cascading through the ages. And in Indy, May always means racing. This Friday, start race weekend with back-to-back 560 featuring the 1968 and 1999 race. Then on Sunday, we start at 10 a.m. with the 2016 race and finish with last year's race. Race Day weekend on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
John here for CarX. How you doing? 40-plus years CarX Tire and Auto. Number one priority, safety of its employee. It's always that, especially right now. So with COVID-19 safety protocols being taken, federal, state, local guidelines, just another reason why, if you need some work done, just some normal maintenance, whatever the case might be, new tires, new brakes, AC inspections, the Joe Childers Run CarX locations in central Indiana are the folks you need to hit up, because not only are they going to do the best service to your car, truck, or van, but they're going to keep you safe. They're going to give you that peace of mind. Stay healthy. And they're going to follow all recommended CDC guidelines, plus give you the great deals here. Free vehicle inspections going on right now, too. AC inspections is $19.99. Lifetime brakes at $89.99 per axle, which includes a synthetic blend oil change. The people that I have trusted for years, CarX Tire and Auto. Joe Childers Run in central Indiana. To find a location nearest you, it's easy. Online, CarX.com. Don't worry. Call the CarX man.
Things are moving again in our community, and like so many other local businesses, Diamonds Direct is now open. We're ready to get back to our mission of helping you celebrate your love like never before. Our showrooms are clean, and we're taking all the necessary safety precautions. Our showcases are fully stocked, our values and prices are better than ever, and our team is eager to serve. And starting this Friday, we're helping in a big way with our most aggressive finance offer ever. 5 years, zero interest financing with nothing down on any purchase. Yes, 60 months, zero interest on anything. All certified diamonds, all designer rings, all fashion jewelry, all earrings, pendants, bands, and bracelets. If you've had to delay that engagement or wedding or that anniversary or birthday celebration, Diamonds Direct is here to help. Starting Friday, you can spread your payments over 5 years with zero interest. At Diamonds Direct, now more than ever, we know love is the most essential thing in our lives. So come see us and let us help you share that love with something she'll have forever. Diamonds Direct. Open Memorial Day, too. Get details, store hours, and directions at diamondsdirect.com.
I love local Indianapolis restaurants and want to see them all get through this trying time. How better to do that than to team up with a fantastic partner like Pepsi and create the Pepsi Dan Dockich deal of the day. That's right. Check out 1075thefan.com for a list of all the great restaurants that are participating and what their incredible Pepsi Dan Dockich deal is. Please support these restaurants on their Pepsi Dan Dockich meal deal day. 1075thefan.com for all the details. Pepsi, that's what I like.
Sports with Dan Dockich.
Tim Kirchin, nice enough to join us. Baseball on July 4th. Are we having it?
All right, I want you to note my hesitation here.
I am.
I'm going to say, yes, we're going to have baseball on July the 4th. I say that without a great deal of confidence, but I just think there is so much to be lost that one way or another, something is going to get figured out.
Dan Dockich, weekdays, noon till 3 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
Bullish Brand's hanging and banging with you until the 8 o'clock hour. Coming up, we have artists such as Living Color and the Fine Young Cannibals right now. Here's Roxette, The Look, 89.9 WROL.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Am I not playing right now? Come on, man. That's just me right there, isn't it? That's just terrible. I'm sorry. Let me talk this. Hey, come on, let's play. What are we doing? It's not playing. Come on. Is it playing yet? Nothing? Great radio right here. It was playing. You heard it, but when we went and listen, I can't enter a segment without some good music, so that's my bad right there, I guess. Was that you or me? What? Reason why I brought this up, that's Foo Fighters and Everlong right there. I wanted to tie it in. The Color and the Shape, 23 years of age today. That is the album. Remember, Everlong was the song when David Letterman did his final show. That's how they closed it out. And that Letterman final show was 5 years ago. So the 5-year anniversary of the final Letterman show, where they played Everlong at the end of it, if you remember, it was awesome with clips of the Letterman show over the years. And the Color and the Shape album is 23 years of age today. From, to me, the greatest rock band out there right now, that would be Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters. So that's my connection right there. Kevin Bowen a little bit earlier, podcast 1075thefan.com. Doug Bowles, Speedway president, will rejoin in studio on Friday, and Miller Lite Carb Day will be honored with us as we drink Miller Lights and take your calls regarding whatever in the 5 o'clock hour with Speedway president Doug Bowles in studio coming up on Friday. And Marshall Teague, the actor that played Jimmy in Roadhouse, was so awesome. And I didn't even know this until we had the conversation, that he holds the Hollywood record for on-screen deaths at 103. On-screen deaths. He's been in over 130 movies and television shows. He has died in 103 of them, which is pretty damn awesome. Marshall Teague, can't miss, 1075thefan.com. Billy, I am sorry about the hold, but that is long and that is awesome of you to hang on. Go ahead.
Hey, man, it was just great to listen to Marshall Teague, and one of the movies that he did die in, Armageddon. He was during the movie, they sent up 2 spaceships up to the asteroid. One of them spaceships had Bruce Willis in it, and the other one was captained by Marshall Teague. And so he was killed off pretty much in the first 15, 20 minutes of the movie. And Roadhouse really brings back some memories to me because I've got two goals every summer. One of them is to get a hole-in-one at a par 3 at Pleasant Run Parkway golf course, and the other one is to get invited to a Brad Wesley pool party.
Oh, my goodness. The Brad Wesley pool party with no privacy fence or nothing. I mean, it was just all hanging out there for everybody to see. See, that's something I always think about, stuff I should have asked. And if you remember, some topless chick jumped on Jimmy Marshall Teague while he was taking off his pants, and they both plunged into the pool. So the next time he comes on, I got to ask him about that.
Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that.
Yes.
Part and everything.
Well, I mean, you just brought it up to me, and now I wish I would have asked that. Yes.
That's such an awesome type film, but I wanted to get your take on something. Paul Pierce kind of made some news yesterday when he came up with his all-time top 5 players in the NBA: Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and then he had Kobe Bryant as the 5th. And according to this report on the internet, it really ticked off LeBron James that he got left off. But if you had to replace Kobe Bryant, I think Kobe Bryant, unfortunately, the late Kobe Bryant, is kind of the weakest link of that top 5 that Paul Pierce identified. Would you put Bird above LeBron James if anybody was going to replace Kobe Bryant? And they don't even have Wilt in the top 10. And Wilt Chamberlain, in my opinion, was the greatest basketball player ever.
And you got to also understand that most of this, and I listen, it's just a personal opinion and preference, and I get that. My preference is any top 5 NBA related is going to include Larry Bird. It just is. And again, you get era-related preference. You get favorite player-related preference, favorite team, just how old you are, what generation you're a part of. And ultimately, it's just a single dude's opinion. And honestly, I think that's okay. I think that somebody could offer up, Bill, an opinion of your top 5 NBA players all time and not include LeBron James and not have to get lambasted, unless there was another reason behind it. I mean, if you have an axe to grind, I'm not suggesting Paul Pierce does, but that's the difference in being absolutely honest with those that are listening or watching or having an axe to grind. And a lot of folks that do sports for a living, TV, radio, print, there are some out there that have an axe to grind, and that's where it's different for me. But if you're just doing it by virtue of what you think the 5 best would be, that's all right. I mean, it's just personal preference, and I get it. Somebody's opinion.
Well, that's the Yahoo sports reporter that wrote the story quoted Pierce as saying that Russell or that LeBron was not worthy because he always went to teams that were already loaded, just like Kevin Durant went to a team that was loaded. And so that was
he's worthy. He's a great player. There's no doubt about that. He's worthy of it. He may not be anybody's favorite unless you're a member of this particular generation, but I mean, he's certainly. I mean, he's in the debate. There's no doubt about it. So it just kind of depends on what you like, what you grew up with, what era of basketball is best for you. I'll give you a great example, Billy. What's the best era of basketball according to you?
Well, Pacers-wise, 1972.
Yeah, but that's where the generation, and I'll tell you why. Like, there are a lot of people out there that would say the 80s because that was a complete rebirth of the NBA with Bird and Magic Johnson, and then obviously at the end of the era, the end of the decade with Michael Jordan. But if you're from around here, if you're your age, it's the early 70s, the Pacers and the ABA. For me, it was the Pacers and the NBA finally getting notoriety. Finally winning games, finally being good of the mid-'90s Reggie Miller-led team. So it really normally matters only as to what era you're attached to. And that's something I've always understood. So I don't get bent out of shape about folks that, that leave people off and everybody gets hot under the collar about it. So.
Well, in the Last Dance, Bill Wennington and Michael Jordan gave the Pacers an awful lot of props.
Yeah,
And Bill Wennington said that any time that you played the Pacers, you were going to get bloodied and bruised, and they were a physical team. And yeah, that was definitely the golden age. But in 1972, the Pacers they had Rick Mount coming off the bench. Starting lineup was Daniels and George McGinnis. Nedelicki came off the bench. Freddie Lewis was the MVP of the series that year, and that was just a fantastic. A fantastic.
And it's just not a team, not an era that a lot of people, certainly the younger generation, understand or recognize. But it's meaningful for you, and I understand. I mean, listen, it's basketball team wise. Here professionally, were those ABA teams, but to me, the moments came by virtue of what Reggie Miller created. Hey, Bill, thank you for the hold. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. It's different. I mean, unless you find out somebody has an axe to grind just to be a jack, then that's one thing. But it's just personal preference and opinion, and whether or not Paul Pierce has LeBron James on or off. It's the way that it is. It's always going to be open for debate. But again, Larry Bird, for my money, Larry Bird is left off of no top 5 of all-time NBA team. Never, ever, ever. Quick one, final time. More of your calls. We'll close it out. Doug Bowles, Marshall Teague, Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com. Back with you. Final time next.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Zach Kiefer.
I think this year is everything for T.Y. because I don't think it's a slam dunk he's back in Indianapolis in 2021. The question is, can he put together a full season and not be hampered by injury? That's really going to decide his future in Indianapolis. If he fights through another injury-plagued season this year, it's going to be hard for the Colts to pony up.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe. Weekday mornings, 7 till 10. Only on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, John here for Love Heating and Air Conditioning. Johnny Chris Love and a business, a company that's been around for 100 years. They are the absolute best. Now we venture into the better concentrate on your cooling unit phase of the year, going into the late spring and summer. Yeah, make sure when those temperatures rise that your cooling unit can rise to the occasion as well and keep you cool and comfortable, and then not put damage to your wallet with a lack of efficiency. So make sure you have, and you do, you have an ace in the hole on this, and that is Love Heating and Air Conditioning at 317-353-2141. The absolute best technicians, most skilled technicians you're going to find anywhere. And for your cooling dollar, whether you need just a checkup or maybe you need a new system altogether, 317-353-2141. Love Heating and Air Conditioning, the folks for you. And then with the peace of mind, your health and your safety, they're following all CDC recommended guidelines, testing on a daily basis, taking temperatures of their employees, keeping you safe, and giving you the best service out there. It's Love Heating and Air Conditioning, 317-353-2141, online, love-hvac.com today.
Kids, tell your parents about Forum Credit Union's Sprout of the Month contest, where you could win $100 in a Sprout account for college. Details at 1075thefan.com.
It's JMV from the Ride with JMV and the JMV Takeover. I'm taking requests thanks to our friends at Count Me Indie. They asked me to create a playlist for my favorite songs to raise awareness about responding to the 2020 census. I've added songs to say thanks to healthcare workers because responding to the 2020 census helps Indie get federal funding for new health clinics and healthcare programs. At JMV 1070 on Twitter to listen to the playlist, and it's not too late to respond at 2020census.gov.
Paid for by Count Me Indy.
Sports Center updates on the Fan are brought to you by Big O Tires. Your local Big O Tires is open and ready to serve you. Stop in for up to $150 off Big O brand tires and financing options tailored to you. Big O Tires, the team you trust.
Where the salons can't open yet. From the WIBC Newsroom, I'm Chris Davis with your coronavirus update. Signs demanding Marion County salons and barbershops be opened were carried by people in front of the State House Wednesday afternoon, like Donna.
We're a mile away from Hendricks County, and all those salons are open, but yet we're closed.
She says she wants to earn a living. Mayor Joe Hogsett says it's not safe enough yet in Marion County. Indiana enters Phase 3 of the reopening plan Friday morning. Governor Eric Holcomb explains that means you can gather in a group of up to 100 people with proper distancing.
Restaurant and dining rooms will remain at open at 50% capacity, but retail stores and malls, they will be able to operate at 75%.
Campgrounds and gyms can reopen and practices for non-contact sports can start. That's everywhere but Marion, Lake, and Cass counties. You've got another update coming up from the WIBC Newsroom. I'm Chris Davis.
A pair of classic Indianapolis 500 mile race broadcasts. Sunday morning at 10 on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. The Ride with JMV.
It takes him a second to get on the stool because he's under 5 feet tall.
93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
If you were hanging around and heard that Count Me Indy spot regarding the 2020 census, which hopefully you help everybody out around here and make sure you've done the work. Make sure you aligned yourself, signed yourself up for this because it affects so much here financially. If you want to check out the JMV Count Me Indy driving playlist, you can do that on my Spotify. I'll send that out a little bit later on tonight, both on Facebook and Twitter, and you guys can go there. Eddie Rabbitt, the late, great Eddie Rabbitt, Driving My Life Away is one of the songs. Sniffing the Tears, Driver's Seat. Sammy Hagar, we talked about Sammy Hagar with Doug Bowles a little bit earlier. I Can't Drive 55. Christopher Cross, Ride Like the Wind. Road to Nowhere, Talking Heads, The Cars Drive, Radar Love, Golden Earring, and more. A part of that playlist brought to you by @CountMeIndy. And remember, you got to make sure you're a part right now of the 2020 census because it does help so much. And @CountMeIndy has been involved with the JMV takeover over on B105.7 Saturday nights for the past month, and I cannot thank them enough for that. And I've got 2 more remaining. I got one coming up on Saturday night and then one more coming up in the final Saturday of May. And on that show, I will give away a Big Green Egg, courtesy of Big Green Egg and my friend Mark and Sullivan Hardware and Garden with Pat Sullivan, valued at over $800. Mark will bring it to your house, set it up in your backyard, and all you have to do to get signed up or registered, if you will, is hashtag JMV Takeover on Twitter and send me photos and videos of what you're doing, how you're doing it, what you're eating, how you're making it, your food on a Saturday night, just really the overall fun that you're having, what you're drinking. And if you send that to me via Twitter, I'm going to put those all together, and I'm going to draw a winner on that final Saturday of the month of May. And what has been a spectacular, really, the Saturdays have been off the hook for me each and every Saturday night with you from 6 until 10. Live local, all request radio on B105.7. And with Doug Bowles in mind, I am on this Saturday night. It's going to be all 80s request. But on this Saturday, we're also going to do some of those 80s bands that have appeared as a part of Carb Days of the past. And we'll do REO Speedwagon. I'm sure I'll do some Styx thrown in there too. Maybe some B-52s. But Carb Day performances and performers of the past, probably some Hagar as well. Thrown in the JMV Takeover coming up on Saturday night on B105.7. Which will be awesome. And again, you can win a Big Green Egg at the end of the month of May, courtesy of Big Green Egg and Sullivan Hardware and Garden. Kyle, great job out of you today. This has been a fantastic show. I thought yesterday was really good with Darius Butler, and it was. But today, Doug Bowles, Speedway president, and there are ways that you're going to be able to virtually enjoy goings-on at the Speedway from that sense of normalcy that the Speedway is offering online. We talked about that, and then Doug's going to rejoin us on Friday because we have to honor, as we will, Carb Day, Miller Lite Carb Day on Friday. Doug's going to join us in studio around 5, and we are going to drink some ice-cold Miller Lights and build a pyramid and take your calls and questions for Doug Bowles coming up in studio. That is on Friday's show. Is Kevin Lee there, by the way? Yeah. Is Kevin Lee on right now? Oh, no, Oh, that's tomorrow. That's Thursday. Ah, okay. Yeah, the Talk of Gasoline Alley is tomorrow. I want to make sure we get Kevin Lee on here to talk that up coming up on tomorrow's show. But Doug Bowles in studio, and we will honor Carb Day with Doug Bowles, the Speedway president, coming up on Friday. He joined us a little bit earlier. Kevin Bowen, 1075thefan.com, was also on the show. And Marshall Teague, actor Jimmy in what was one of the greatest of all time, Roadhouse. If you remember, he was Brad Wesley's chief ass kicker. He joined us for just some incredible stories. And I don't even know where to begin. Fighting with Swayze. Swayze kicking him in the sack. Fighting with Sam Elliott. The pool cue scene. And he did that. He was a fighter. His relationship, 40 years and running with Chuck Norris. Man, just great ones. Oh, yeah, his relationship with Mel Gibson. He was a guy that the director of fighting for Lethal Weapon in 1987. And I guess he essentially taught Mel Gibson how to fight for that film. That's great. It's great. Marshall Teague. Tell Marshall Teague how much you enjoyed him. I mean, it was great. Really was. We're going to do that again. I left a lot out. He was on First and 10 back in the day. I didn't even get to that. We'll do that later on this summer. More with Marshall Teague. Podcast 1075thefan.com. But tell him on Twitter how much you enjoyed him on here today, because the dude actually called back and thanked Kyle for us having him on, which was great. It really was. Podcast 1075thefan.com. Kyle, great job out of you. Listeners, Twitter followers, YouTube Live, you guys have been absolutely off the charts. Thank you. Hey, shout out to Johnson County Fiber, my friends there, Nick and the gang, and Red Bull and Ryan Neat. We dig the fridge, the watermelon summer edition flavor with Red Bull. Love you guys. Back with you tomorrow at 3.
It's the Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe.
Head coach of the Pacers, Nate McMillan.
It's just so much unknown. If we get the opportunity to come back and play, how many games will we have? I do think that we need games if we go into a regular season or a playoff. I think we're going to need to get some games under our belt, almost like a preseason.
The Fan Morning Show with Jeff and Big Joe. Weekday mornings, 7 till 10. Only on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
Hey, it's Stan Dockich here with my wife, the lovely Lee Ross. Lee, we've had several jobs done at our house by the Michaelis Corporation. You've dealt with them way more than I did. You know I forget everything. Remind me, what was the scheduled work they did and how'd it go?
They were great to work with. Michaelis rebuilt a roof over our sunroom and a structure over our 2-story deck so we could sit outside on the lower level even when it's raining.